I was on my knees holding flowers, proposing to some girl. Except I had no idea what was going on. A moment ago, I was sleeping at my office desk back on Earth. Now I was in some kind of academy surrounded by students staring at me. The girl in front of me, cold and beautiful in light armor, frowned and said, "Ren, I'm not thinking about marriage right now. Does your father even know you're doing this?" Before I could figure anything out, guards with lion crests on their armor pushed through the crowd, grabbed me, and dragged me away. The flowers fell from my hands. The pain in my arms from their grip told me this wasn't a dream. I had transmigrated into another world. They brought me to a fancy room where a big, powerful man, my father, Fred Gray, smashed his teacup next to me and screamed about what I'd done. Apparently the girl, Sophia Ward, was from a rival marquis family, and my little stunt could make the Emperor think our two families were trying to unite against him. Fred was a 6th-rank Moonlight Knight who could crush a desk to dust without scratching the floor. I knelt there completely lost. Then a flood of memories hit my brain so hard I collapsed. Fred thought I was faking sick like always, but the butler Jonas checked me and confirmed something was actually wrong. I passed out. When I woke up in my room, everything clicked. I was a loser from Earth who'd transmigrated into a world of swords and magic. Magic was nearly extinct here because some ancient emperor had wiped out all the mages centuries ago. Everyone trained in combat breathing techniques to become knights or warriors instead. The original Ren had no talent for combat energy at all, so even his family's top-tier breathing technique was useless on him. But he had an incredibly rare gift, full attribute magic talent, meaning he could use every element. The problem was there were no proper meditation manuals to match his power. It was like having a turbocharged engine but only putting water in the tank. So original Ren gave up and became a spoiled bully who caused trouble using the family name. Meanwhile downstairs, my mother Layla came in with a plan: find me a fiancé fast and pick a public fight with the Ward family so the Emperor wouldn't suspect an alliance. She already had a candidate picked out, Adele Hill. Back in my room, the doctor said I was fine, just needed some calming medicine for a week. My head made Eve brought dinner. She was tall and stunning, and when she noticed me looking, she calmly offered to share my bed if my mother approved. I shook my head. Too much had happened today. While Eve helped me change clothes, she spotted a necklace around my neck shaped like a book. I recognized it immediately. It was mine from Earth, something I'd bought at a street stall. It had crossed over with me. Could this be my cheat item? I played it cool and told her I just bought it recently. Then she served me dinner by my bed. Eve opened the silver covers, and the room filled with amazing smells. There was a blue lobster tail from the Southern Sea, super expensive, costing at least 5 gold coins just for shipping. Next to it was a cut of meat from a special pig whose flesh helps with combat energy training. Even though I have no talent for combat energy, my mother still makes me eat it every day hoping for a miracle. Eve poured me half a glass of red wine in a crystal goblet, tied a napkin around my neck, and stepped back. I didn't bother with noble table manners. I just dug in. Eve didn't even flinch at my messy eating. That's just how the original Ren always ate, so acting polite would have been more suspicious. I finished everything fast. Best meal I've ever had in my life. Eve wiped sauce off my face and told me my father ordered me grounded. No leaving the estate without permission. I nodded. After she left, I immediately took off the necklace to examine it. I spent half an hour trying everything. Fire, water, blood, nothing worked. Then I pushed my small amount of magic power into it. The little book-shaped charm fluttered open, turned into a streak of light, and shot into my head. I blacked out. Inside my mind, a massive ancient book appeared. It called itself the Book of Arts. It contained records of every breathing technique, combat skill, meditation method, and magic spell from across the entire continent throughout all of history. Feed it enough energy, and it gives you whatever technique you want. It even puts you into an instant enlightenment state when learning. And since it had just activated, I got one free pick of anything. I needed a meditation method that matched my full attribute magic talent. The moment I thought that, the book flipped on its own and landed on a page. A world-class meditation method, the Heavenly Abyss Meditation. It wasn't created by any person but born naturally inside a magical cave. Only someone with full attribute talent could learn it. Anyone else would lose all their magic or die. Once mastered, Your magic becomes like an endless ocean, always growing, even when you're not meditating. I didn't hesitate. I touched the book and golden light poured into me. It hurt like when the memories first flooded in, but I pushed through. I went from a mid-level magic apprentice straight past the advanced stage and became a first-rank mage. My magic power jumped more than 10 times over. When I woke up, the power was real, dark gold magic flowing endlessly inside me. The book in my mind had gone dim, so I knew I needed to find energy sources to recharge it. I called for my personal maid, Cecily. She came in trembling, staring at the floor. The original Ren used to beat her. When I asked her to come closer, she dropped to her knees begging me not to hit her. It made me sick thinking about what the old Ren did. I picked her up, sat her on the bed, and pushed up her sleeve. Her arm was covered in bruises. I told her to go get healing ointment from Jonas and also bring me the magic books I'd thrown away before. She was confused by how different I was acting, but she went and came back with other maids carrying stacks of magic books and the ointment. I told her to go find Eve and have every bruise and wound on her body treated. She tried to refuse, saying the expensive medicine was too much for her, but I insisted and told her to use all of it. She nodded and left. After Cecily left, I started going through the magic books. My father had spent years collecting them from all over, each one old, dusty, and extremely valuable. With the Book of Arts helping me enter an instant enlightenment state, learning became ridiculously easy. I mastered Thunder Rage Spear in about 10 minutes. I tossed aside a fire meditation manual. I already had the Heavenly Abyss method and didn't need anything lesser. Then I learned Barrier and Gale Sprint one after another, all in no time. Cecily came back to show me the empty ointment box. She'd used it all like I asked. It was getting late, so I told her to go sleep. She brought me a wash basin first. I cleaned up, and she turned off the magic lamp on her way out. I was so drained from everything that happened that I fell asleep instantly. That night, the Gray family went to work. Father sent masked men to visit every newspaper shop in the capital. They threatened the ones without noble backing into silence about my proposal stunt. For the shops with noble patrons behind them, Jonas handled it diplomatically, negotiating deals and calling in favors. Since Father caught the situation early, not many people knew, and by morning the story was mostly buried. At breakfast, the dining room was grand. Crystal chandeliers, red silk tablecloths, gold and silver cutlery. I sat down casually and just had some bread and milk. Before I could leave, my mother stopped me. She told me she'd picked a girl for me, the youngest daughter of the Hill family. Gentle personality, same age as me, beautiful. We'd be engaged in 3 months, and the girl would come visit me soon. I frowned and reminded her she'd once promised me I could choose my own partner. That set my father off again, yelling about whether I wanted to go chase Sophia some more. Mother calmed him down. She explained the whole political situation, and I understood. The old Ren caused this mess, and now I had to deal with it. I just sighed and hoped this Hill girl would at least be my type. After breakfast, I went looking for Jonas instead of going back to my room. Behind me, my father raised an eyebrow and mentioned to Mother that I'd advanced to a first-rank mage. She didn't even notice. Father shrugged it off too. First rank was just barely meeting the minimum standard for a noble's child. Walking through the hallways, maids bowed as I passed. I couldn't help noticing how pretty they all were. Way better than Flat Sophia, honestly. I found Jonas in his room. He'd been up all night handling my mess, but his combat energy kept him fresh. The moment he saw me, he started mentally preparing to clean up another disaster. That's how it always went when I came to him. But I surprised him. "Uncle Jonas, does our family have any treasures that can boost magic power?" He visibly relaxed. "Not trouble, just a request." He led me down to the family vault beneath the estate. We passed through 5 security checkpoints, and he showed a jade token at the final door. Inside, the vault manager Boa greeted us and took us to a section with 5 massive storage cabinets, each filled with dozens of magic-boosting treasures. Since magic wasn't mainstream, these items were much cheaper than combat energy ones, and the family had been stockpiling them for years because of me. Boa opened one cabinet and showed me an ice stone, a first-rank treasure from a frozen mountain up north, useful for ice mages below second rank. But what caught my attention was something else entirely. The Book of Arts was marking every single treasure with glowing golden numbers, showing how much energy each one contained. It could measure them for me. I looked at all 5 cabinets full of numbered treasures and smiled. I'll take all of them. Boa couldn't believe what I said. He asked me to repeat it. When I said it again, all 5 cabinets, he stared at me like I was a demon, then looked at Jonas for help. Jonas was shocked too. He asked why I needed so many. I told him obviously to use them, not to sell. He was stuck because I'm one of only 2 direct heirs of the Gray family, so technically I could take most of it. But he couldn't approve everything without my father, who was already on his way to the royal palace. So he offered a compromise. He'd give me everything useful for my current level. I agreed without making a fuss, which surprised him. The old Ren would have thrown a tantrum. The workers started gathering items while Jonas took me back to my room. I went right back to studying the magic books. I was a first-rank mage now, but the old Ren had been so lazy that I barely knew any actual combat spells. I needed to catch up badly. About an hour later, workers brought 53 treasures to my room. I stored them in my magic ring. I gave half to the Book of Arts as energy and kept the other half to absorb myself. Those 15 treasures gave me 487 points of source energy. I called for Cecily, but a different maid came in nervously, a red-haired girl named Maeve. Cecily had taken the day off. I asked Maeve to give me a massage. She was tense at first, but relaxed when she realized I wasn't as scary as the rumors said. I teased her a little and she got flustered but seemed almost disappointed I didn't go further. She left pouting. I spent the rest of the day reading magic books with the Book of Arts Enlightenment boost. By evening I'd finished them all: fire magic, thunder magic, ice magic, even healing magic. My skill set was now well-rounded. I was so mentally drained that I collapsed into bed without even washing up. Next morning, Cecily's voice woke me. My father had lifted the house arrest overnight, and I had to go to the academy. Cecily dressed me in my school uniform and rushed breakfast over. I ate quickly, pinched her cheeks playfully making her squeal, then headed downstairs to the carriage. The Bristly Royal Academy was exactly what it sounded like, a school for noble children. Even the few commoner students had nobles backing them. The carriage was pulled by a unicorn from the Elven Forest and bore the Gray family lion crest. Other carriages on the road slowed down to let us pass. Nobody messes with a marquis family. At the academy gates, I stepped out and took in the massive campus. It covered a fifth of the entire capital. Teaching halls, a library, a dueling arena, a mage tower, it had everything. Before I could enjoy the view, someone yelled at me. "Ren, you worthless thug. How dare you confess to Sophia?" It was Damon Mick, a mid-level first-rank warrior and Sophia's most obsessive admirer. The Mick family had been close with the Ward family for generations, and Damon was considered one of the top candidates to marry Sophia. Getting trash-talked first thing in the morning put me in a terrible mood. I flipped him off and said, "Loser," then walked toward the mage tower without looking back. Damon didn't understand the gesture, but could tell it wasn't friendly. His face went dark. Then he drew his sword and pointed it at me. "Ren Gray, I, Damon Mick, challenge you to a duel in the name of a warrior." Damon's challenge stopped me in my tracks. In this world, noble duels come in 2 types: death duels, where the loser dies, and honor duels, where nobody gets killed but the winner takes the loser's honor and can make the loser do one thing that doesn't harm their family or the empire. If the loser refuses, the gods curse them and their strength never grows again. Damon and I didn't have a deadly grudge, so this was clearly an honor duel. Students crowded around us chanting, "Duel! Duel!" Before I could respond, a huge figure jumped in front of me, completely blocking my body. It was Blair Rivera, a commoner student loyal to me because the old Ren once saved his mother's life. Blair had been Ren's shadow ever since, standing lookout when Ren peeked at female teachers bathing, throwing the first punch in every fight. People called him the Thug's Attack Dog. He was a high-level first-rank warrior with serious talent, backed by Gray family resources. Damon had been beaten by Blair before, so he looked nervous. He called me a coward hiding behind someone else. I tried pushing Blair aside but couldn't budge him, so I walked around him instead. The crowd noticed I had a good-looking face. That's why some girls like me despite my awful reputation. I slowly pulled off my left glove and tossed it at Damon. "You want a duel?" "Fine." He threw his glove back. The duel was set. I told him tomorrow at noon, at the dueling arena. As the one challenged, I got to pick the time and place. He agreed and walked away. Up in the dean's office, Dean Cliff had been napping and got woken up by the commotion. His secretary Jenny told him about the duel. He was amused. He thought I kept things lively around the academy. He didn't consider me truly bad. He'd done the same stuff when he was young. Then a little white mouse climbed onto his desk and whispered something to him. He nodded and commented on the color of Jenny's underwear. She went bright red, clamped her legs together, and stormed out. Students in the hallway just shrugged. The dean spying on Jenny was a regular thing. On the way to the mage tower, Blair was worried. He thought I was still below first rank and stood no chance against Damon, a mid-level first-rank warrior with lots of experience. I dropped the concealment spell I'd learned from those magic books, a trick called silent magic that hides your rank by using a small amount of continuous magic. Blair immediately sensed it. "You reached first rank?" He got excited, then immediately deflated. Even at first rank, I was still a beginner while Damon was a seasoned mid-rank. I patted the big guy on the shoulder and told him to trust me. Tomorrow I'd show him what I was really capable of. He could only pray silently. Blair left once we reached the mage tower since he wasn't a magic student. The tower was impressive, dark blue marble walls embedded with magic crystals that sparkled with rainbow light. Inside, the hall had polished obsidian floors so smooth I could see my reflection. In the center floated an ancient magic core from centuries ago, rotating slowly in midair. I climbed the spiral staircase with its carved patterns up to the third floor and walked into a familiar research room. I walked into my mentor Jonah's research room without knocking. I was the only one who ever did that. He was busy carving a complex magic circle on a big table and didn't look up. I grabbed a stool and sat nearby watching him work. His golden hair looked really striking in the sunlight. Suddenly, he stopped and stared at me with surprise. He could sense it. I'd become a first-rank mage. He asked if my father had found me a matching meditation method. I made up a story about buying a heritage stone from a street stall that happened to contain one. He believed it and said my luck was great. He even noticed that the magic energy in the room was drifting toward me on its own, calling my full attribute talent magic's favorite child. He asked why the academy was so noisy today. I casually told him about the duel with Damon. He wasn't worried when he saw how calm I was. He liked my confidence and said it was the first ingredient for victory. Then we started the lesson. Today was about anti-magic stones, their nature and uses. He also gave me a few magic skill books he'd developed himself before letting me go. Meanwhile, the whole academy was buzzing. Rumors had gotten wildly out of control. Some students were saying Sophia and I had secretly promised ourselves to each other, and her rejection was just shyness. Students even set up betting. The odds were 1 to 15 against me. Nobody had ever seen me fight, and everyone just knew me as a magic apprentice. No match for a seasoned mid-rank warrior like Damon. After class, I got in the family carriage. I asked my driver Derek what was happening around the capital lately. He mentioned an auction at the Anderson auction house in a week with supposedly amazing items. I got a bit bored thinking about how much I missed scrolling through videos on my phone back on Earth. That led to some other thoughts about entertainment, but I pushed those aside. I had real business this afternoon. I told Derek to take me to the antique ruins market. My reason was simple. I needed a cover story. Anything the Book of Arts gave me, skills, meditation methods, breathing techniques, I needed to explain where I got them. The antique market was perfect because people found rare treasures there every year. Plus, with the Book of Arts showing me energy values on items, I could actually find real bargains too. When the Gray family carriage rolled into the market, it caused a commotion. People recognized the lion crest immediately. Some wanted to offer themselves as servants hoping to join a marquee household. Others warned that it was probably the infamous violent young master's carriage. Derek pulled out my stepping stool, and I got off. The crowd pressed in. I'd actually wanted people to see me here. Witnesses that I'd been shopping at the antique market would make my cover story believable later. But I'd underestimated how much the Gray name meant to commoners. Even knowing I was the thug, they still looked at me with desperate hope. Derek drew his sword, shielded me behind him, and yelled at everyone to back off. He called for the market's security people. The market manager came running over, apologizing frantically. Derek told him to clear the crowd before some foreign spy or assassin could get close. I realized I probably should have brought guards. Coming here without any protection was a bit reckless. After the crowd cleared, Derek stayed glued to my side as I browsed the stalls. The Book of Arts was incredible. It showed energy numbers floating above every item. Most things had tiny numbers or none at all. At one old man's stall, a small bead tucked in the corner read 233, way more than anything else around. I picked it up and asked the price. The old man was nervous with Derek looming behind me and the market manager giving him panicked looks. He stuttered out, 1 silver coin. Before I could even pay, the manager grabbed the old man by his shirt and accused him of ripping me off. The old man immediately backtracked and offered it for free. I kicked the manager over. I came here to shop, not bully people. You people are the reason my reputation is garbage. The manager just got up, dusted himself off, and smiled nervously. I paid the silver coin and moved on. I hit several more stalls and found decent items, but instead of figuring out how to use each one, I fed them all to the Book of Arts. More efficient that way. Let the book convert them into skills or magic for me later. By the end, my source energy climbed to 1,032. Mission accomplished. I also made sure plenty of people saw me shopping here, which was the whole point, building a cover story for any future skills I'd pull from the book. I told Derek to take me home. Back in my room, after Cecily helped me change, I told her to bring me some long-legged maids. She looked confused but obeyed. Soon 7 gorgeous maids filed in and greeted me. I confirmed they were all adults. The Gray family only hired maids 18 and older on lifetime contracts. Perfect. I asked if any of them could dance. One named Emily stepped forward and performed, but it was way too elegant, like a ballroom waltz. Zero appeal. I frowned, and she stopped immediately, terrified she'd angered me. I thought about teaching them myself, but realized that would be ridiculous. Better idea. Hire some women from the Red Mill, the capital's pleasure district, to teach them the kind of dancing I had in mind. The maids were all staring at the floor, scared. I clapped my hands and told them to relax. As long as they didn't make serious mistakes, I wouldn't get angry. I had them introduce themselves one by one. Ava, Charlotte, Alice, Elena, Ally, Rosie, and Emily. Then I told them all to give me a massage. I sprawled out on the bed in a star shape. 7 pairs of hands worked on my feet, legs, arms, and head while the room filled with their soft perfume. Cecily sat beside me feeding me grapes. I held one in my mouth and offered it to Emily, who was massaging my head. She blushed bright red and leaned down to take it. I kissed her. The other maids scrambled off the bed with red faces, but looked more excited than scared. Things were about to go further with Emily when someone knocked on the door. I threw a blanket over her, marched to the door ready to yell, and found Jonas standing there with his usual serious face. My anger evaporated. He said my father wanted to see me. I went back inside and told all 7 maids they were now my personal attendants. No more regular chores. They'd live in the room next to mine with Cecily. They all agreed happily. Being a personal maid meant higher status and much better pay, even if the master was supposedly violent. I kissed Emily on the cheek and told her to get dressed. Then I whispered in her ear to come to my room tonight. She blushed and quietly agreed. I straightened my clothes and left with Jonas to go see my father. I followed Jonas back to my father's room. Fred was sitting in his usual seat looking stern. He'd heard about the duel with Damon and wanted to confirm it. I told him it was just a duel, not trouble. He said he wasn't scolding me. Turns out a lava stone mine had been found between Gray and Mick family territories, and they couldn't agree on how to split the profits. When Fred met with Damon's father Blant today, Blant suggested letting our duel decide. If I won, we'd get 60%. If I lost, only 40%. Fred asked how confident I was. I said about 90%, but now I was less sure since the Mick family might cheat. Fred agreed. They'd probably rush Damon to high-level first-rank warrior overnight. He said if I'd been a warrior he could help me rank up too, but he didn't know how to help a mage. He told me to just do my best and lose with dignity if it came to that. I asked what I'd get if I won. He said if I won impressively, showing off the Gray family's strength, he'd grant me one reasonable request. I told him I wanted Eve. He was speechless. He expected me to ask for command of a night squad or something, not a woman. He agreed. Win honorably, and I could have any willing maid in the house. But I had to win fair and square. Lions don't win like rats. I asked for more magic treasures from the vault. He gave me everything at first and second rank, up to half the stock. Higher-level treasures had to stay for recruiting mages to the family. After I left, Fred talked with Jonas about me. He wondered why I seemed so confident. Jonas said something that made Fred freeze mid-puff on his cigar. When Jonas compared his own power as a first-rank assassin-class servant to what he sensed from me, he described it as staring into a bottomless abyss. Back in my room, I found Emily already in my bed waiting under the covers, her blue-white hair poking out. We spent the rest of the evening together. I didn't even stop when servants came to deliver the treasures. Afterward, I carried the exhausted Emily to Cecily's room next door and had the other maids clean up my room. Then I sat down and fed all 213 treasures to the Book of Arts, pushing its source energy up to 8,428. I climbed into bed with Emily, entered my mental world, and spent hours browsing through every spell the book could offer at my current level, picking out what I'd need for tomorrow. When I finally pulled out of my trance, Cecily had snuck into the bed too. I fell asleep holding both of them. Next morning, I kissed the messy-haired Cecily, then Emily, and we all got ready together. I took both of them with me in the carriage to the academy. With all the new spells and secret techniques I'd exchanged from the book last night, I was feeling very confident about what was coming. On the way to the academy, we heard newspaper vendors shouting, "Extra! Gray family's Ren and Mick family's Damon duel for love." I opened the carriage window and saw crowds mobbing the newspaper stands. I was confused. Honor duels happen over a dozen times a year, so why all the fuss? I had Derek buy me a copy. Emily, Cecily, and I read it together. The paper painted Damon as a shining hero, leading knights against monsters, training alongside commoners. Meanwhile, I was described as a thug who got into fights with nobles, peeked at the princess bathing, bullied commoners, and had affairs with academy staff. Side by side, the contrast was brutal. Now I understood. The Mick family was behind this. They wanted to boost Damon's fame so he could propose to Sophia right after winning. Emily and Cecily got angry and wanted to go confront the newspaper shop. I hugged them both and told them to calm down. I didn't care about reputation. Besides, they weren't wrong. I was a thug, and honestly I liked it that way. No stuffy noble etiquette, and being called a scoundrel made chasing women perfectly on brand. At the academy, I stepped out first, then helped both girls down by the hand. I walked in with an arm around each of their waists while everyone stared. People whispered about how I always had beauties around me and how all the Gray family maids were supposedly mine. I took them into the mage tower. They were amazed by everything. The floating ancient magic core, the glowing crystals. I let them explore, then brought them to my personal room in the tower. It was luxurious. Enchanted beast fur carpet that smelled like fresh grass, crystal lamps on the walls, and all kinds of furniture. I told them to hang out while I meditated and adjusted my condition. They sat in a corner whispering. Cecily was interrogating Emily about last night, and Emily was blushing the whole time. The morning flew by. When the sun hit noon, I took both girls and strolled toward the dueling arena, stopping to show them the campus sites along the way. I wasn't worried about Damon at all. The arena looked like a soccer stadium, a fighting platform in the center surrounded by spectator seats. Thanks to the Mick family's publicity campaign, so many commoners wanted to watch that the academy had to open extra seating sections. Damon was already standing on the platform, chest puffed out, trying to look impressive for Sophia, who was watching from the stands. Minutes passed, and I still hadn't shown up. People started wondering if I'd chickened out. Others pointed out that my father would kill me if I fled. Losing was just embarrassing, but not showing up would be unforgivable for a battle-loving family like the Grays. Then some students who'd spotted me explained that I was giving two girls a tour of campus. The crowd couldn't believe it. This duel had attracted some serious figures. Dean Cliff was there. My father Fred. Damon's father Blant Mick. Sophia's father Fabian Ward. Several royal dukes. Even mages who rarely left the tower came to watch, curious about the academy's young magic students. The big shots in the VIP section were getting impatient. Blant needled my father about whether I'd run away. Fred's face was dark. Knowing my unpredictable personality, he genuinely wasn't sure what I'd do. He quietly told Jonas to go find me. Before Jonas could move, the crowd below erupted. "Look, Ren's here." Everyone turned east and saw me strolling in casually with a girl on each arm, looking like the ultimate playboy. I walked Emily and Cecily over to Blair, gave him a few instructions, and headed for the platform. The crowd went wild when I walked in, but every single cheer was for Damon. "Beat that scoundrel. Damon, Sophie is watching." The Mick family had packed the stands with paid supporters, and my bad reputation meant hardly anyone rooted for me. The Gray family had planted some fans too, but they got drowned out fast. Damon mocked me for showing up late. I told him I said noon, but never specified what time exactly. He called me rude and classless. I ignored him. Nothing annoys me more than people lecturing me about noble manners. An assistant teacher brought out racks of weapons and armor for us to choose from. He offered to hold our magic rings during the fight. Pulling anything from them mid-duel meant automatic disqualification. We both declined. Then things got ugly. My mentor Jonah immediately noticed something wrong with Damon's chosen equipment. It contained anti-magic stone, a material that weakens magic. Jonah protested to the dean, and other mages in the audience joined in, saying it was completely unfair. The dean was confused too. He didn't know the academy had anti-magic equipment. His secretary Jenny checked the records and whispered something that made his face go dark. Turns out the Mick family had donated a batch of anti-magic gear to the academy just last night. Damon's father Blant spoke up smugly, arguing it didn't break any rules. The duel rules said fighters could only use equipment already in the academy, and now this equipment was in the academy. Technically legal. My father shot up from his seat and smashed his chair to pieces. He was furious, ready to fight Blant right there. Jonas grabbed him and whispered something that barely calmed him down. Everyone noticed Jonas was also 6th rank. The Gray family had been hiding its true strength. The dean was disgusted but couldn't do anything. The mages in the stands glared at Blant and silently agreed to never sell magic tools to the Mick family again. Blant knew he'd made enemies, but figured the trade-off was worth it for Damon's glory. On the platform, Damon suited up in full anti-magic armor with an anti-magic sword and shield. I just picked a mage robe that amplified spell power. He grinned and said I had no chance. I called him a loser. The assistant gave us each a jade token, an emergency life-saving device in case things got out of hand. We separated by 100 meters. The crowd went quiet. A magic flare exploded overhead. The duel began. Damon charged, cracking the platform under his feet, shield raised in front. I instantly conjured a crackling thunder spear and hurled it at him. It slammed into his shield and shattered completely without leaving a single scratch. The fragments hit the ground, leaving black scorch marks everywhere except on him. He closed the distance and swung his sword in a cross slash. I threw up a barrier spell that barely blocked it, then stomped the ground with earth tremor to shake his footing and jumped backward to create space. Something was very wrong. Thunder magic is supposed to be one of the most destructive elements, and it did absolutely nothing to his shield. Damon laughed. I told you, Ren. This gear is laced with anti-magic stone powder. The magic resistance is insane. How exactly are you going to beat me? I healed the small cut on my face with water healing and figured it out. The Mick family had slipped anti-magic equipment into the academy. The crowd was cheering only for Damon, but that just lit a fire inside me. Mages had been overlooked for too long. Time to show everyone what a real mage looks like. My body started glowing. A golden light wrapped around me and lined my robe with shimmering edges. I floated up into the sky. The secret technique I'd spent all my source energy on last night. Instant casting, activated. Magic circles appeared in my eyes, and I raised my right hand. Hundreds of light spears made from pure light element materialized above the arena, each one radiating deadly sharpness. They hung in the air like suspended judgment. The glow was so intense the audience couldn't keep their eyes open, and the arena had to activate its barrier shields. The entire stadium went silent. This wasn't the weak mage everyone expected. Up in the VIP section, the mages went crazy. One old man screamed, asking if that was really instant casting, a long-lost secret technique. Another demanded to take me as his final disciple and marry me to his granddaughter. Dean Cliff asked my mentor Jonah if he'd taught me all this. Jonah shook his head. He'd only taught me theory. He had no idea where I'd learned instant casting because he couldn't even do it himself. Cliff noted that my magic reserves were at least 10 times greater than any mage at the same rank. But even more shocking was my magic recovery speed. I was pulling ambient magic from the entire arena to refuel in real time. Jonah confirmed that with my full attribute talent, I could absorb every type of element. I was essentially unbeatable just from being able to fly and regenerate magic endlessly. My father squeezed in between them asking if I could actually win. They stared at him. Funny how I wasn't that bastard anymore. Jonah told him I'd already won. Father's eyes went wide. He'd been planning how to comfort me after losing, and now he had to figure out how to convince Mother to hand over Eve. Meanwhile, Blant Mick was sweating. My father walked over and taunted him. Blant insisted Damon wasn't losing. Father called him a stubborn duck. I dropped my hand. Damon, dance for me. The light spears rained down from every direction. Damon dodged skillfully. He was a decent fighter, but there were too many. Every spear he blocked with his shield hit like a siege crossbow bolt. The deflected spears still punched deep holes into the ground before dissolving into particles of light. When the barrage ended, Damon started laughing, saying it was all show. Then he looked up and saw me summoning hundreds of crackling thunderbolts. The electrical energy was so intense it changed the weather. Dark clouds gathered over the arena. The thunder volley came next, then fire swords, water lances, one element after another in an endless flood. He couldn't even catch his breath between waves. For a moment, Damon looked like he was fighting nature itself. The audience was speechless. Sophia felt pressure just watching. Students who'd called me a worthless thug couldn't believe their eyes. Some girls who'd been peeking it started screaming my name. One girl bragged that I'd once seen her bathing and wanted her father to arrange a marriage. I called down to Damon from above. You're really unlucky. My teacher literally just taught me about anti-magic stone yesterday. It absorbs magic, sure, but it has a limit. Push past that limit and it breaks. Right on cue, his left shoulder plate shattered. Damon panicked. Impossible. How do you have this much magic? This isn't what the textbooks say. Did you take some kind of drug? I crossed my arms and looked down at him. Textbooks are textbooks. I'm me. I'm Ren Gray, the full attribute mage of this fallen magic era, and I will bring magic back to the top of this world. The dark clouds above parted, and from within them descended a single massive, majestic sword of pure energy. The Sword of Damocles. The Sword of Damocles was enormous, almost as big as half the arena platform, its tip pointing straight at Damon. I shrank it down and let it float into my right hand. Up in the stands, every mage had their jaw hanging open. This spell was the strongest single-target magic available at first rank, powerful enough to seriously wound anyone at second rank. The catch was that it normally cost a mage their entire magic reserves and life force to cast. But with the Heavenly Abyss method constantly refilling my power, I'd managed it, barely. My face had gone pale, and even the golden glow around me dimmed. The strain wasn't just magical, but mental too. Damon, it's over. I pointed the sword at him and let it drift forward. His body froze, pure survival instinct. He screamed at himself internally to move, and finally he did, swinging his strongest attack, Blood-Red Sunset. The two forces collided. His sword melted in an instant. The Jade safety token shattered just before my attack hit him, teleporting him outside the arena. The Sword of Damocles slammed into the ground. The explosion was blinding. Half the arena platform was destroyed, leaving a massive crater. The barrier that was supposed to withstand fourth-rank attacks actually shook. When the dust settled and Damon was gone, the silent crowd erupted. I floated down and completely dropped any composure. I pumped my fists and yelled with the crowd. Louder. Come on. The nobles in the VIP section shook their heads at my total lack of manners. But from today, nobody would ever call me a waste again. Sophia watched me with a complicated look, then quietly left. Even she wasn't fully confident she could have blocked that final attack. She needed to go train. After a while, Damon came back from the restroom. His father Blant had talked him through it, told him failure wasn't the end, and encouraged him to get stronger. To his credit, Damon walked up to me with steady eyes and said he accepted defeat. Whatever I asked of him, even humiliation, he'd take it. I stopped celebrating and looked at him. Honestly, I didn't hate the guy. He was just a young man angry that a thug had confessed to his goddess. I'd have felt the same way. But wrong was wrong, and my mischievous side kicked in hard. I leaned in close and whispered my demand. Steal Sophia's underwear from today within 2 days, then report her underwear color to me every day for a month. Damon went stiff. His eyes bulged wider than during the actual fight. He stuttered, asking me to repeat it. I grinned and warned him that if I said it out loud, Sophia would find out and his mission would go from hard to impossible. He frantically waved his hands, begging me not to. I laughed, walked over to Emily and Cecily, put my arms around both of them, and left the arena under everyone's admiring stares. Damon stumbled back to his father looking like his soul had left his body. Blant assumed it was some terrible humiliation and tried to comfort him. Damon finally confessed the demand in a whisper, face turning red as a tomato. Blant was stunned. No insult, no public shaming, just stealing underwear? But he understood the cruelty of it. Damon worshipped Sophia so completely that he didn't even keep personal maids, afraid it would hurt Sophia's image of him. This was forcing Damon to choose between his warrior's oath and his goddess. Blant sighed and told Damon the family would handle it for him. I was about to leave with Emily and Cecily when my father, the dean, and a whole crowd of mages surrounded me. The mages started fighting over who would take me as their disciple. A 4th-rank thunder mage offered to teach me all his destruction spells. A 4th-rank magic engineer with 3 elemental talents offered unlimited magic devices. Then one old man showed me a photo of his granddaughter, a cute girl, and said he'd send her to my bed tonight if I joined him. I actually hesitated at that one, which made all the other mages panic and start thinking about which pretty relatives they had to offer. Dean Cliff stepped in and reminded everyone I already had a teacher. My mentor Jonah smiled and suggested a solution. Since I had full attribute talent, one teacher couldn't cover everything. Why not have all of them teach me together? They agreed and turned to ask my opinion, but I'd already wandered off to flirt with the dean's secretary Jenny. Father dragged me back. Jonah explained the plan and I happily agreed. Then I asked about enrollment gifts. Father smacked the back of my head, calling me greedy. Bad move. Every mage in the group turned and glared at him with murderous eyes. He'd just hit their precious new student. I saw my chance and threw myself into the arms of an old grandma mage, crying about how much it hurt. This was Kiri Jefferson, a terrifying 4th-rank poison mage known as the Voodoo Witch. She started rubbing my head and cooing at me while shooting death glares at my father. He went pale. He did not want to end up paralyzed. He suddenly remembered he had something to do at home and practically jogged out of the academy. Jonas bowed to everyone and hurried after him. With Father gone, the mages started stuffing gifts into my hands. Rare magic books, precious treasures, different types of magic devices. They just kept pulling stuff out. They were so happy to finally have someone to pass their life's work on to. I started calling them Grandpa, Grandma, Uncle, and Auntie, and they ate it up. They told me to come to the Mage Tower tomorrow for a custom study schedule. I took Emily and Cecily home. In my room, I went through all the gifts. Dozens of high-grade healing potions strong enough to work on someone at my father's level. Tons of magic-boosting treasures, every single one showing at least 500 energy in my eyes. Magic staffs, enchanted robes, and best of all, a 5th-rank spatial magic device from Teacher Leon with way more storage space than my current ring or even my father's. I called Boa from the vault to identify everything. He nearly had a heart attack seeing what was just scattered on my carpet. He identified each piece with expert precision, their uses, origins, even legends attached to some of them. After he left, I kept the treasures with special abilities and fed the rest to the Book of Arts. The book gained 9,797 source energy. Combined with what I already had, my total finally broke past 10,000. A knock came and Jonas told me Father wanted to see me. On the way there, Jonas mentioned how pleased Father was with my performance today. I walked into Father's office and caught him and Mother being lovey-dovey. Father pretended to be annoyed about how I'd tricked him at the academy by playing the victim with the mages. He complained that now he'd have to send return gifts to all of them. But he was clearly in a good mood. I coughed and reminded him about our deal. He played dumb, sipping his tea like he had no idea what I was talking about. I was ready to go cause more trouble tomorrow out of spite, but Mother stepped in with a smile. She said she'd watched Eve grow up and trusted her, so Eve could be mine from now on. I rushed to Mother's side, grabbed the teapot, and started pouring her tea like a devoted son. She patted my head lovingly. Father coughed and pointed at his empty cup. I poured him some too. Since he'd kept his word, he was forgiven. Neither parent asked where my meditation method came from. They respected that everyone has secrets. Father shooed me out so he could get back to cuddling with Mother. In my room, Eve was chatting with Emily and Cecily. When she saw me, her face turned slightly red and she started undressing. I stopped her immediately. Do I really seem that desperate to you all? Emily and Cecily looked away awkwardly. Clearly, Emily had told Eve everything about our night together. I flicked Emily's forehead as punishment. Then I got serious with Eve. I told her I didn't just want her as decoration. I wanted her to manage my schedule, my affairs, and coordinate all my personal maids, the same way Jonas serves my father. I asked if she would truly follow me. Eve dropped to one knee. I will, young master. Eve won't let you down. She'd changed how she addressed me, from young lord to young master, showing deeper loyalty. I asked about her combat abilities. She was a second-rank mid-level assassin, 22 years old, with modest talent. I closed my eyes, entered the Book of Arts, and spent 1,000 source energy to produce a heritage stone. I handed it to her. Since you follow me now, this 10,000 shadows breathing technique is yours. It was a top-tier assassin breathing method, nearly equal to the Grey family's own fearless line technique. Eve accepted it solemnly and sat down to learn it right there. I signaled Emily and Cecily to stay quiet. Cecily tiptoed outside to stand guard while I read a book about the continent's history and legends to fill in gaps the original Rin never bothered learning. Soon the stone's glow faded. Eve opened her eyes, stunned by the quality of what I'd given her. She asked if such a high-rank technique was really meant for her. I just rolled my eyes. Of course it was. I was training her as my true right hand. I asked for a demonstration and turned off the lights. Eve vanished completely. Even with my magic sense, I couldn't detect her. I had to use the Heavenly Abyss method to track ambient magic before I could locate her. Then several shadow copies of her appeared and knelt before me. She explained the technique, let her create and control shadows in darkness. At 4th rank, she'd even be able to control an enemy's shadow for assassination. The training speed was extremely fast. She was confident she could reach 4th rank assassin within a year. Emily stood there with her mouth open. I told her to go rest. She pouted and asked if I didn't need her company tonight. I picked up Eve in my arms and said Emily could have tomorrow. Tonight was Eve's turn. Emily said good night with a pout and left. I carried a blushing Eve to the bed. The moonlight that night was especially beautiful. Next morning, Eve came in with the maids right as I woke up. While they dressed me and Cecily served breakfast, Eve gave me the day's schedule, magic lessons at the tower in the morning, and my fiancée Adele Hill would visit in the afternoon. Jonas wanted me home early for that. I kissed Alice on my way out, making her blush, then gave Eve some instructions on the stairs. I'd heard about an auction at the Anderson auction house in 5 days and wanted my schedule cleared for it. Eve said the invitation had already been sent to Father a month ago. I just needed to ask him for it. On the road to the academy, I heard newspaper vendors shouting about my legendary debut battle. People were crowding the stands reading about how I crushed Damon with elemental magic. When they spotted the Grey family carriage, everyone stared with awe. Even Derek sat up straighter with pride. At the academy, students looked at me with respect, admiration, and fear. My combat rating now put me nearly equal to Sophia, the Empire's top young genius. Girls kept running up to hand me love letters. I accepted every single one with a smile, which made the male students grind their teeth. I heard rumors about an anti-Ren alliance forming. At the Mage Tower, Dean Cliff was waiting in a rocking chair by the entrance. Only he could be that relaxed in such a grand place. He handed me a gold-bordered course schedule. Classes every morning, afternoons free. Today's instructor was the Dean himself. Dean Cliff was a 6th-rank mage, the highest-level mage in the entire Empire, same rank as my father. He had space, water, wood, and healing talents, specializing in space magic. He told me my line about bringing magic back to the top had touched him deeply and reminded him of a student he'd once had. That student died in a political power struggle years ago, back when the Dean worked outside the Empire. It made him want to take another disciple. Then he snapped his fingers, and a magic circle formed instantly. We teleported to the top floor of the tower, his personal study. It was simple inside, just shelves and shelves of heavy books, no fancy equipment. He grinned proudly and asked if I wanted to learn space magic. With my instant casting ability, if I mastered teleportation, I'd be practically unkillable unless someone had a spatial sealing artifact. Space magic was the rarest type. Even in the Book of Arts, space spells cost several times more than other magic at the same rank. Learning directly from the Dean was the best possible opportunity. I told him I'd wanted to learn his space magic for ages, but my father always said I wasn't even 1st rank yet and wouldn't let me bother him. The dean then got a little shy and asked where I'd gotten instant casting. I lied and said I'd bought a jade token at the antique market that turned out to be a one-use heritage stone containing the technique. He sighed with disappointment. He'd been hoping it came from a book he could study. Then he shrugged it off, conjured a pale blue magic circle in the air, and started teaching me the fundamentals of teleportation magic construction. With the Book of Arts boosting my learning, I picked up teleportation and a spell called Space Blade that the dean invented himself, all in one morning. The nearly 100-year-old dean was amazed at how fast I learned. I poured him some tea when he looked tired. He reminded me to keep practicing to deepen my feel for spatial magic, even though I had instant casting. As he watched me leave, he muttered something about needing to visit the Mage Association for my sake. Outside his study, a crowd of mages was waiting to invite me to lunch. One had stocked up on blue lobster. Another offered to have his granddaughter personally feed me. They started arguing among themselves. It was funny but also warming. On Earth, I'd been an orphan with nobody. Having all these people fuss over me felt genuinely nice. I thanked them, but explained my fiancée was visiting today, so I had to head home. They nodded, disappointed, and let me go. At lunch, Father told me to clean up afterward because Mother had prepared formal noble clothes for meeting Adele. After eating, I went upstairs, bathed with help from the maids, dried my hair with a quick wind spell, and got dressed. But when I saw the stiff, noble outfit Mother picked, I refused. I made Eve swap it for my usual clothes. Soon the Hill family's carriage convoy arrived. Their family head, Charlie Hill, stepped out dressed elaborately and greeted my parents with a knight's bow. The Hill family was a newly risen Viscount house. Compared to an old marquis family like ours, they were a star next to the moon. Charlie was extremely respectful. Even I, with no official title, was treated as equal to a Viscount under unwritten noble rules. Father was friendly, though, reminding Charlie they weren't strangers. Charlie had once been a captain in Father's Lion Knight Order. Father asked to see Adele. Charlie called toward the second carriage, but nothing happened. No response. He called again. Still nothing. Charlie walked over and knocked on the carriage door. Silence. Getting worried, he crushed the lock and pulled the door open. Everyone leaned in to look. Adele was gone. Inside was only her personal maid, knocked unconscious. Charlie went pale with panic. In noble society, this was a disaster. They'd agreed to a marriage meeting with the Gray family, and now the bride had vanished. It was like slapping the Grays in the face. Charlie definitely didn't want to make an enemy of my father, having seen firsthand how brutal he could be to opponents. He woke the maid with combat energy. She was confused and terrified to find her master standing over her. She explained that Adele had offered her sweets in the carriage that morning, and after eating them, she'd gotten impossibly sleepy and passed out. She had no idea where Adele went. Charlie's heart sank. My parents' faces turned serious. I just raised an eyebrow at the whole scene. My fiancée had drugged her own maid and run away. First time in my life I'd been stood up like this. Father stared at Charlie with a dead serious look. Charlie, I need a proper explanation. Father demanded an explanation from Charlie in a very serious tone. As family head, he had to protect the Gray family's reputation, even with an old comrade. Charlie searched the carriage and found a letter hidden under a small table. It was from Adele. She'd run away with some guy named Harlan, a mercenary she called kind, brave, and honest. She said compared to me and my terrible reputation, Harlan was like an angel. Even my victory over Damon hadn't changed her opinion. She asked her father to forgive her for being selfish and chasing true love. Charlie slumped in the carriage, devastated. He explained to my father that Harlan had been seeing Adele for months. He'd investigated the guy, decent reputation publicly, but a two-faced fraud behind the scenes. He'd warned Adele, but she wouldn't listen. When the engagement was announced, Charlie had put Adele under house arrest to keep her away from Harlan. He never expected his obedient daughter to pull something like this. Father was disappointed. He told Charlie that years of easy city life had dulled his old soldier's instincts, letting a first-rank warrior daughter slip away right under his nose. Mother said the priority was finding Adele fast. If she was still untouched, the engagement could continue. I immediately objected. Even if she was technically pure, who knows what had already happened? Mercenaries weren't exactly known for restraint, and plenty of people make promises about not going all the way that mean nothing. My bluntness made even my parents pause. Charlie tried to argue that Adele had protective magic devices, but I pointed out she could just take them off herself. He had no answer for that. After an awkward silence, Mother ordered a full citywide search. Both families sent guards and hidden agents flooding through the capital. Father and Charlie left for the palace to report to the Emperor. The engagement was effectively dead. With the marriage off, I felt free as a bird. I scooped up Cecily and headed to my room. I asked Eve if she wanted to join. She blushed and declined. She needed to monitor the Adele situation, but added I could come find her anytime if Cecily wasn't enough. That evening, after Cecily had fallen asleep with tear marks on her cheeks, I kissed her face gently and slipped out of bed. Outside my door, Alice and Ally were standing guard with flushed faces. Clearly they'd been listening through the door for a while. I pulled them both into my arms. I found Eve in the next room studying documents. She reported that Adele still hadn't been found. They'd even tried tracking magic, but it was useless, meaning either Adele was already far outside the city or Harlan had anti-tracking equipment. I asked to see their portraits. Looking at Adele's picture, I had to admit she was pretty. I memorized both faces, then flopped onto the bed with Alice and Ally. I told Eve I was hungry. She went downstairs and came back with a hot dinner, which Alice and Ally helped serve me while I ate. What I didn't know at the time was exactly what had happened with Adele. That afternoon, she'd slipped out of the Hill family convoy and walked through the commoner district alone in her fancy clothes. People noticed her but kept their distance. Nobles wandering into poor neighborhoods only ever meant trouble for the locals. She found the address her beloved, Harlan, had once given her, a rundown house with a cracked wooden door. She knocked and waited, wanting to surprise him. When nobody answered, Harlan cursed and opened the door. His brain froze when he saw her. The truth was, Harlan had never loved Adele. He was a commoner with strong fighting talent who'd reached high first-rank warrior using just a low-grade breathing technique. His plan had been to charm his way into the Hill family as a son-in-law, then use their resources to climb higher. When Hill family agents warned him that Adele was engaged to me, the son of a marquis house, he'd immediately given up on her and started looking for other noble daughters to target. Now here she was at his door, begging him to elope. He was terrified. He knew the violent thug, Ren, and two entire noble families would hunt him down. Getting caught could mean something worse than death. He briefly considered forcing himself on her since he was doomed anyway. But she had multiple protective magic devices and was extremely conservative. She told him many times she was saving herself for her wedding night. He'd already tried and failed to get past those defenses before. He needed her cooperation to stay hidden, so he handed her an anti-tracking cloak and told her to put it on immediately before her father's tracking magic found them. She did. He rushed her out the back door through narrow alleys to a secret underground hideout near the city wall, a place he'd once used to hide from enemies. Down in the cave, Harlan pulled out a battered teleportation scroll he'd gotten from the antique market. It originally had 3 uses, only one remained. He could escape the city right now and disappear. But he was furious. He'd had his whole future planned out, and now he was being forced to run like a dog, never able to return to the capital. The injustice of being a commoner with no path upward burned in him. He decided to gamble on something crazy. Even if it failed, the scroll was his safety net. Adele innocently asked when they'd leave the city. He wanted to scream at her. The whole city was probably locked down because of her, but he forced a smile and told her to be patient. She happily agreed. He settled her in, then sat alone in the dark, refining whatever insane plan had just formed in his head. Next morning, I woke up surrounded by my maids as usual. After getting dressed and eating breakfast, I kissed everyone goodbye and headed to the academy. Today's class was with Grandma Curie. When I got to the mage tower, she was sitting at a tea table in the lobby with a girl. She introduced her as Carly Richard, her disciple, another poison attribute talent. Carly was shy and nervous meeting me, bowing stiffly. I told her to relax. On the way upstairs, Curie asked about my runaway fiancé. I told her honestly that Adele had eloped with a mercenary named Harlan, but I really didn't care. The engagement was arranged because of the Sophia mess, not love. Without it, I actually felt relieved. Curie calmed down but promised she'd get payback on Adele and Harlan once they were found. When we entered her research room, I froze. The place was packed with jars and containers full of poisons and venomous creatures. In iron cages along the wall were several bound and gagged people. Curie smiled, and explained they were death row criminals used for testing. Carly gave me a quick introduction to poison magic. Unlike regular magic, you need to understand the chemical structure of toxins and use magic circles to create and modify poisons, adjusting their properties and strength through precise magical control. Then Kiri grabbed my hand and checked my body with magic. She got a knowing smile and pulled out a small green bottle from her ring. She said these pills would replenish my depleted vitality, nourish my body, and with long-term use, strengthen my foundation and heal hidden damage. I immediately understood what she meant and hugged her gratefully. Carly stared at the bottle in shock. Apparently, even the Emperor only ever got 1 or 2 pills when he begged for them, and Kiri had just handed me a whole bottle. The ingredients were incredibly rare and difficult to refine. After that, Kiri started the actual lesson. She was patient, going slowly since I was new to poison magic. She demonstrated with the prisoners, first hitting one with a needle carrying a toxin that made the victim feel like burning alive. Then she showed the antidote, using a different snake venom to neutralize the first poison. She went through many toxins, ones that attacked the body, ones that destroyed the mind, each with their own cures and interactions. The morning passed between her explanations and the muffled screams from the cages. When class ended, I poured her tea. She thought I was rushing off to test the green pills and told me to practice moderation. I just laughed awkwardly, said goodbye to her and Carly, and left the tower. It was noon and the sky had gone dark with heavy clouds. Walking through the academy, I was still getting love letters from girls. I counted the days. It had been 2 since I told Damon to steal Sophia's underwear. If he didn't deliver today, breaking his warrior's oath could cost him his combat energy or even his life. At the academy gate, something felt off. It was way too quiet. Even the Ward family carriages were gone, and Sophia never missed a day. Derek was waiting anxiously and explained. Harlan had shown up at the Central Plaza with everyone watching. All the noble kids had run off to see the show. I jumped in the carriage and we rushed over. The plaza was packed. Harlan was standing under the central statue, facing down both the Gray and Hill families. He looked weirdly confident, like he was enjoying the attention. Charlie had charged at him immediately, but Harlan pulled out a recording stone from a magic device, which shocked people since those are expensive and rare for a commoner mercenary. He threatened to broadcast naked images of Adele to the entire plaza. Charlie froze. Harlan claimed the stone was bound to him and would play even if he was captured or killed. Charlie couldn't gamble with his daughter's reputation. He backed off behind my father. Father studied the situation calmly. He figured Harlan must have an escape route, probably a teleportation scroll. He quietly sent Jonas to fetch a spatial sealing artifact from home to lock down the area around the plaza. When I arrived, Father filled me in. I just stood to the side watching like it wasn't my problem. Father asked Harlan what he wanted. Harlan demanded a high-grade breathing technique and 10 third-rank combat treasures. Blantmick mocked him for asking so little from a rich family, but Harlan was smart. Asked too much, and the Hill family might just cut their losses. He only wanted enough to start a new life on the run. Father agreed, but wanted Adele's location first. Harlan refused until the goods arrived. Meanwhile, Jonas returned and whispered that the space around the plaza was now sealed. No teleportation possible. Father signaled Charlie, who sent guards to bring a chest with the requested items. While everyone focused on the exchange, someone appeared in front of me, a Mick family servant. He handed me an elegant box and said Damon's obligation had been fulfilled. Sophia's underwear, delivered right on time. Father told Harlan everything was ready and demanded Adele's location. Harlan smiled and said he wanted one more thing, nothing too difficult. Father's brow tightened. What? I want that box in young Master Ren's hands right now. Harlan was confident he'd scored something valuable. He'd seen how interested I looked examining the box. Everyone in the plaza stared at me, wondering what was inside. Father came over and quietly asked what was in it. I couldn't exactly say. Sophia's underwear, with her and her father standing right there watching. I just said I couldn't hand it over. Father tried to convince me, saying the space around the plaza was sealed so Harlan couldn't escape anyway. He even offered me a 4th-rank treasure. I didn't budge. Then he said a 5th-rank treasure. My eyes lit up. That was worth at least 10,000 source energy points. Deal. I told Harlan I'd trade the box for his recording stone. He agreed. Charlie sent a commoner to deliver both the treasure chest and my box to Harlan. Harlan checked the breathing technique and treasures, stored them away, then picked up my little box. I tried to stop him from opening it, but he ignored me. He lifted the lid. A beam of white practically shone out. Underwear, a pure white bra and panties with a small butterfly bow. Thunder cracked overhead, right on cue. Every single person in the plaza turned to look at me. My face went red. I coughed and looked away. Their expressions went from shock to confusion to understanding. Classic Ren. Father's mouth twitched. I just scammed him out of a 5th-rank treasure over someone's underwear. Then Harlan found the note in the box and, for reasons I'll never understand, read it out loud. Sophia's underwear color today is pink. Another thunderclap. Every head swiveled towards Sophia and her father Fabian. Fabian, normally the perfect gentleman, completely lost it. That's bullshit. He grabbed his lance and hurled it at Harlan, trying to kill the man who'd just publicly announced his daughter's underwear details. Father rushed to intercept, but Harlan was already terrified by Fabian's murderous aura. He activated his teleportation scroll and vanished. The scroll was so high-grade that even our spatial seal couldn't block it. A ray of sunlight broke through the clouds and fell directly on the white underwear lying on the ground. It practically glowed like a holy relic. Everyone stared at it, then looked at me again. I'd already rushed over to grab the underwear and the recording stone Harlan dropped. I tried to change the subject. This recording stone is empty. That little rat tricked me. Nobody cared. Fabian locked onto me like a hawk. Ren, you need to explain the underwear situation. I hid behind Father. Uncle Fabian, you can't trust what that criminal said. Only he saw what was on the note. None of us know what it said. Fabian narrowed his eyes and looked for the note, but Harlan had taken it when he teleported. Father was glaring at me too. I could practically read his thoughts. Forget the 5th-rank treasure. I was getting 500 slaps when we got home. Then I felt something. The spatial sense the dean had told me about. I could see a faint silver thread in the air, a trace left by Harlan's teleportation. Father, quick, release the spatial seal. Now! Everyone froze at my sudden seriousness. Father reacted fast and signaled Jonas, who vanished in a blur of shadow. The moment the seal dropped, I activated teleportation and started chasing the silver thread, blinking through space as fast as I could. The trail was fading rapidly. The family heads looked at each other in surprise, then followed after me. Even Blant Mick tagged along, despite having nothing to do with any of this. As I chased that silver line, I realized the dean was right. The spatial magic sensitivity from practicing teleportation. In a moment like this, it made all the difference. After I teleported away chasing the silver trail, the drama at the plaza finally died down. I found out later that Sophia had checked her carriage window, confirmed the underwear style and today's color matched, and cursed me as a pervert. I blinked through the sky using teleportation with the family heads following behind. City guards almost tried to stop us for breaking the no-fly rule, but their captain slapped a hand over the rookie's mouth. Nobody stops Mark Hill-level nobles. Teleportation eats a lot of magic, and space element energy in the air is scarce. Without the Heavenly Abyss method constantly refilling my reserves, I'd have run dry long ago. The spatial trail led us to a forest outside the city walls, where it vanished. I found a destroyed scroll on the ground, and the note. I quickly hid the note in my ring before Fabian could see it. Everything had to be blamed on Harlan now. I showed the broken scroll to the group. Blant looked impressed that I'd actually tracked the teleportation residue. Fabian was practically frothing. He wanted Harlan dead. Even Blant was motivated, thinking he could trade the capture for mining concessions from my father. They all split up to search different directions. I stayed behind with the scroll. Even damaged, the Book of Arts showed it still had decent source energy. More importantly, it would still carry Harlan's scent. I cast scent tracking. Dark golden magic wrapped the scroll, and it floated off in one direction. I followed. I found Harlan hiding in a tree hollow, laughing to himself about outsmarting noble families and fantasizing about fleeing to the Pollux Federation, where commoners are treated equally. He was planning to train up and come back to crush everyone. Too bad you won't get that chance, I said from the entrance. He spun around terrified, but relaxed when he saw I was alone. He figured a sheltered noble kid had probably never even seen real blood. His tone switched from polite to vicious in a heartbeat. He drew his sword and charged. I threw scorching flame magic at him. but the fire just scattered when it touched his left arm, like the flames were afraid of him. Fire magic was completely useless. He was immune to fire element. That surprise almost cost me. His sword was inches from my face before I blasted him back with a wind burst. After a few more exchanges, I figured out it was only fire he could resist. Bad luck for fire-only mages, but I had every element available. I switched to thunder and light magic and started demolishing the tree hollow. The fight moved into the forest. With teleportation, he could never get close to me. He tried using the terrain to play hide and seek, but I just used wide area attacks that covered huge sections of forest. It didn't take long before he collapsed, completely spent. I dismissed the thunder spear in my hand. I needed him alive. We still didn't know where Adele was. Up above, the family heads had been watching the whole fight. I could tell they were all thinking the same thing. A beginner first-rank mage effortlessly crushing a high-level first-rank warrior. That kind of gap in power was almost unheard of in the Empire. I pulled out special shackles that suppress combat energy and locked Harlan's hands. Then I started stripping him of everything useful. On his left arm, I found a long feather tied with cloth strips, brilliant fire red with incredibly pure fire magic energy. When I shot a small fireball at it, the flames scattered before even touching it. So that's why he was immune to fire magic. I took it without hesitation. I also confiscated the 10 third-rank treasures he'd just gotten from Charlie, plus everything else in his magic ring. All kinds of random items. This guy really did have amazing luck. A high-grade teleportation scroll, a special recording stone, a mysterious feather. Back on Earth, we'd call him a child of fortune. That made me feel a bit like the villain robbing him, but my hands didn't stop moving. Last thing I found was a necklace around his neck. Took that too. Harlan woke up, saw the shackles, and his eyes went dead. Then a spark of hope returned. He offered to tell me Adele's location and also give me something even bigger. A great opportunity, in exchange for his life. I was curious. He told me Adele was in an underground space beneath a small courtyard near the western city wall, marked by 2 sass trees out front. Easy to find. I grabbed his chain and started dragging him back. He panicked. Wait, what about the opportunity? I told him to talk while we walked. He begged to be released first. I didn't budge. Then he blurted out the magic word. It's about a secret realm. Everything went quiet. Even the family heads hovering above stopped talking. Secret realms are incredibly rare pocket dimensions left over from ancient times. Old warehouses, training grounds, and treasure vaults of powerful civilizations. Every single one is packed with unimaginable treasures. The entire empire was supposedly founded from one. Currently, the empire controlled fewer than 10. Up above, my father immediately told the other 2 lords that this was a young person's fortune and old men shouldn't steal it. Blant argued that finders should share, and Fabian nodded eagerly. Father nearly started fighting Blant on the spot, threatening to unleash his Lion Knight order on anyone who touched my opportunity. Fabian played peacemaker and pointed out that nothing was confirmed yet. I recovered from my shock and questioned Harlan. He said he knew what a secret realm was, and that he couldn't go himself because it hadn't reached its opening time yet. He knew the schedule. I asked for more details. He refused unless I swore on the god of magic to let him go. Otherwise, he'd take the secret to his grave. I smiled. Why would I swear? I'll just bring you back to Grandma Kiri. A little poison and you'll tell us everything. That terrified him, but he fired back. Then I'll rupture my own heart veins and die before you get a single word out of me. Harlan threatened to kill himself if I tried to force the information out of him. I laughed. If he was desperate enough to trade a secret realm for his life, he clearly valued living too much to actually do it. But he had a point. Dying would at least keep me from learning anything. I told him I needed proof he wasn't lying. He swore on the warrior god that everything he told me within the next day would be true, or his combat energy would turn against him and kill him. I felt something watching us. The oath was sealed. Then I swore on the god of magic. If Harlan told me everything about the secret realm, I'd spare his life and never attack him. If I broke the oath, my magic would scatter and I'd never advance again. I noticed the 3 family heads hovering above us, so I told Harlan to whisper everything in my ear. Up above, Blant and Fabian tried to eavesdrop using combat energy, but my father blocked them. This is a young man's business. You old men stay out of it. Harlan told me everything. The secret realm key was actually the necklace I'd taken from his neck. He needed his shackles removed to transfer ownership with his combat energy. I tossed him the key to the shackles. He unlocked them, closed his eyes, coughed up blood, and said the transfer was done. I pricked my finger and dropped blood onto the necklace. Instantly, I felt a connection form, and knowledge about the secret realm flooded my mind, matching what Harlan had described. I told him to leave. He gave me a fake, grateful bow and walked into the forest. Once he was gone, I called out to the sky, "Father, you and the uncles can stop hiding." All three appeared instantly. Father asked about the secret realm excitedly. I told him to go kill Harlan first. My oath said I wouldn't attack him, but nothing stopped my father. The fewer people who knew about the realm, the better. Father caught Harlan in seconds. Harlan didn't even get a word out before Father's pressure crushed every bone in his body. He kept the corpse intact to salvage some face for the Gray family regarding the Adele situation. When Father returned, Blant and Fabian were already trying to squeeze information out of me. I told all three what I'd learned. The secret realm was a trial-type realm, not an ordinary one. Trial targets went up to 4th rank, meaning anyone below 4th rank could enter. There would be 5 trials. Pass one and you get rewards. Fail and you're teleported out alive. Trial-type realms were legendary because once a 1st rank warrior entered one and came out at 5th rank with massively enhanced talent. One step to the sky. Fabian asked the key question. Where was it and how many people could enter? I explained there was no fixed location. The key let you enter directly when the realm opened, and the key could register 300 people who'd all gain access. The 3 lords looked at each other. 300 slots split between 3 families who were the only ones who knew. That was plenty. I was about to share more details about rules inside the realm, but Father stopped me. Despite his hot temper, he was sharp. They hadn't negotiated the split of slots yet, so sharing more information would give away leverage too early. We started heading back. Father carried me back at full speed. We reached the estate in minutes. Charlie was waiting anxiously. When he heard we'd caught Harlan, he was overjoyed. He bowed to me and swore the Hill family would always be loyal to the Grays. I told him Adele's location, and he immediately took his guards to go find her. Then Father brought me, Blant, and Fabian to the Gray family meeting room. He had Jonas guard the door. Nobody allowed near. Father got straight to business. The boy caught Harlan. The key is his. If your families want in, you'd better pay up. Fabian demanded 100 slots at 1 4th rank treasure per slot. Father nearly exploded. 100? Then Blant takes 100 and we're left with 100? Absolutely not. 20 each, maximum. Fabian fired back. Your son stole my daughter's underwear, and I haven't even settled that score yet. 20 slots? You think I'm stupid? That knocked Father down a peg. He tried denying the underwear was Sophia's. Fabian turned to me and asked point blank if it was hers. I spat out my tea. I couldn't admit that. I looked at Blant for help. He realized he couldn't just sit there watching anymore and jumped in to change the subject. After a long argument, they settled on what I'd predicted, 50 slots per family. Each slot cost 1 4th rank treasure plus 10,000 gold coins. They asked when the realm opened. I closed my eyes and felt the necklace's connection. About 1 month, which happened to coincide with the old emperor's birthday celebration. The timing was suspicious, but nobody overthought it. They had enough time to select their people. Blant and Fabian left to start choosing candidates. Alone with Father, he was grinning about the windfall, 100 4th rank treasures and a mountain of gold for the Lion Knight Order. I pointed out those treasures should be mine since I'd found the realm. He coughed awkwardly and said a 1st rank mage had no use for 4th rank treasures. He'd save them for me. I demanded half. He acted like I was staging a rebellion. He tried bribing me with 5,000 gold coins monthly allowance. I didn't budge. Then he played his trump card. I'll recall Fiona and assign her as your personal guard. Fiona Vick, a 3rd rank knight and squad captain in the Lion Knight Order, known as the most defiant rose in the whole unit. The original Rin had been obsessed with her for over a year, constantly begging Father for her, always getting rejected. Though remembering her figure was apparently as flat as Sophia's, I wondered about the old Rin's taste. No wonder he'd ignored the curvy maids at home. Still, a 3rd rank personal guard was nothing to sneeze at. Deal. Father's mouth twitched at how fast I agreed. He told me to show some restraint and not drain myself dry at my age. I pulled out Grandma Kiri's little green bottle and said I had it covered. 1 pill per session, restores vitality and energy. Father's eyes went wide the instant he saw it. She gave you that mini jade sea pills. Apparently, they were made from dozens of rare ingredients, especially something called jade sea essence pearls that were incredibly precious. One pill could keep a man going all night, and a month of continuous use would massively strengthen your body's foundation. He stared at the bottle with hungry eyes. Son, how many do you have in there? Can I have one? Father's eyes were practically glowing staring at the green bottle. I clutched it tight, afraid he'd snatch it. Eventually, I caved and gave him one pill. He was thrilled, carefully stored it in a jade vial, and rushed off to write Fiona's transfer order, humming about showing Mother, who's really in charge tonight. I shook my head. Poor Mother. Back in my room, I relaxed with Eve's lap as a pillow while the maids massaged me. I examined the secret realm key, the necklace. The truth was, it could actually register 500 people, not 300. I'd kept 200 slots hidden from the other families. I kissed Eve to register her, and a glowing mark flashed on her hand, then disappeared. She asked what it was, so I told everyone about the secret realm. The maids looked at Eve's hand with envy. I laughed and told them all to come kiss me. Everyone gets a spot. Even if they don't find treasures inside, it'd be a good experience. Maeve went first. She climbed on top of me and kissed me so long I had to be the one to stop her. One by one, all 8 personal maids got registered. I pulled out the green bottle ready to take a pill and have some real fun with them. Then someone knocked on my door. Again, every single time. Cecily peeked through a crack. It was Jonas. He said Charlie Hill was downstairs in the guest room with Adele, wanting to thank me personally. I waved it off and told Jonas to send them away. But then he mentioned the gifts Charlie brought looked quite valuable. I straightened my clothes immediately. Well, since Uncle Charlie came in person, it would be rude not to go. Downstairs, Charlie and Adele were sitting on a sofa. Adele looked dazed and hollow. Apparently, she'd learned the truth about Harlan being a fraud and hadn't recovered. Charlie pulled her up to bow when I entered. Earlier, Father had already rejected Charlie's attempt to restart the engagement. He'd told Charlie that after such a public scandal, he couldn't let Adele into the Gray family. Even if nothing physical happened with Harlan, the rumors alone were too damaging. Charlie tried arguing that all 3 of Adele's protective devices were intact and everything was Harlan's fault, but Father wouldn't budge. So Charlie had come to try his luck with me instead. He said Adele had realized Harlan's true nature and wanted to personally apologize and thank me. Adele snapped out of her trance just long enough to repeat the words, though it was obviously rehearsed. I didn't care. They'd brought expensive gifts. I smiled politely and said it was nothing. Our families had always been close. Charlie kept hinting that Adele was still pure, all 3 protective devices intact, untouched. He pushed a gift box toward me. I noticed it showed 6,546 source energy points and immediately accepted, promising to look after Adele at the academy. We chatted a bit more, then they left. Back in my room, I opened the box. Inside was a lotus flower radiating dense magical energy. I'd ask my teachers about it tomorrow, along with the feather I'd taken from Harlan. I put the lotus away, popped one of Grandma Kiri's green pills, and felt heat rush through my whole body. I grinned and turned to my maids for a very long night. That same night, a shadowy figure slipped out of the Mick family estate and visited several newspaper shops around the capital. Something was brewing. I woke up feeling incredible. I washed up quietly with water magic, dressed myself without waking anyone, locked the bedroom door behind me. Nobody needed to see the scene inside, and headed to the academy. At the gate, I ran into Blair. He'd gotten even bigger, like a bear. I couldn't even reach his shoulder to pat it, so I tapped his arm instead. Walking together, I asked about his breathing technique. He said it was high grade, given as a reward for his talent. Decent, but nothing special. I made a mental note to get him a top-tier one from the Book of Arts once I had enough source energy. Then we heard a commotion and went to look. The crowd parted for me immediately. It was Adele. A group of thugs had surrounded her. Their leader, some noble brat named Kent, was taunting her, saying since she'd already run off with a man, she shouldn't pretend to be innocent. He reached for her chest. My expression went cold. I grabbed his hand before it reached her. He turned around ready to yell, then saw it was me and instantly changed his tune. Ren, I was just teaching this woman a lesson for you. I slapped him across the face. Hard. He stumbled. Before he could speak, I slapped him again. And again. And again. each slap punctuated with words. Don't you know she's under my protection? The last slap sent him to the ground. He clutched his face and screamed, then lost his mind and started cursing me. Called me a waste. Said I was nothing without my family name. I laughed. Then my smile vanished. A mouth that leaks needs to be fixed. Blair, rip out his tongue. Everyone nearby went pale. Blair grinned like a demon stepping out of hell. Yes, young master. Kent tried to keep his mouth shut, but Blair's fingers pried his jaw open, snapping teeth in the process. Kent screamed. Blair grabbed his tongue and yanked it out. Got it, young master, Blair said with a calm smile, blood spattered on his face. The crowd was horrified. I cast a healing spell on Kent so he wouldn't die. A dead body would make this a much bigger problem. I told Blair to give the tongue back, then crouched down next to the whimpering Kent. This is just a lesson. Remember it. And if anything happens to Adele again, I'm coming for you. Understood, he nodded frantically, grabbed his severed tongue off the ground, and scrambled away with his lackeys. The tongue could still be reattached if he found a healing mage fast enough. I wiped Adele's tears and told her I had her back at the academy from now on. If anyone messed with her, find Blair at the warrior school. If Blair couldn't handle it, come find me at the mage tower. I looked around at the crowd, and nobody dared make eye contact. Adele's cheeks turned pink, and she quietly called me, Brother Ren. I told her to get to class and sent Blair to escort her. The crowd dispersed after we left. People were whispering. Some figured Adele must still be pure, otherwise why would I bother protecting her? The rumors started shifting in her favor. Today's class was with teacher Leon Burton, the 4-rank magic engineer with fire, water, and wood talents. He personally crafted about 20% of all magic devices produced in the Empire every year. He was waiting for me at the base of the tower and immediately started talking nonstop. A total machine gun. He'd heard about me tracking Harlan through faint spatial magic traces and was impressed. He said my magic sensitivity was natural talent, not something teachers could train, and that I was born to be a magic engineer. He talked the entire way up the stairs. I actually enjoyed it since he shared lots of continent lore and legends that filled gaps in my knowledge. In his study, I immediately pulled out the 2 treasures I wanted identified, the lotus from Charlie and the feather from Harlan. Leon examined the lotus first. This is a Patra lotus, a 4th-rank magic treasure. Very gentle. Anyone below 4th rank can absorb it directly. Instead of releasing all its power at once, it continuously boosts your magic over time until it runs out. He told me to absorb it right there with him watching, then carefully put it back in the box to preserve it. Then he picked up the feather and studied it with growing curiosity. Strange. Let me check my references. He gave me a chair and climbed up to search his bookshelves. I grabbed a book called Northern Continent Treasure Guide and read while waiting. The whole morning passed. Then Leon suddenly shouted with excitement. It's actually this. He asked me if I knew what happens when an element reaches its absolute limit. I didn't. He explained, magic energy is normally lifeless and unconscious. But when one type of magic concentrates to an extreme degree, it can birth life itself, an elemental life. This feather belonged to the previous generation's fire elemental life, called the flame spirit bird. That explained why fire magic was completely useless against it. Fire energy basically recognized the feather as its mother. I asked what he meant by previous generation. He said the flame spirit bird had already perished. Nobody knew how or why. Beyond fire immunity, the feather had one other function. It could track the current generation's fire elemental life, if one had been born yet. I looked at the feather with disappointment. Useful, but also kind of useless. Leon smiled. Think about what it means if you actually find the current fire elemental life and form a contract with it. For a mage, an elemental life is like what a mount is for a knight. That changed everything. A contracted fire elemental life would be an incredible partner. But I had more questions. Why did the previous one die? Did it have a contract partner? Leon shook his head. No records existed about any of that. I stored the feather away. We'd spent the whole morning on research and hadn't had a single lesson. Leon was embarrassed about losing track of time and asked if I was free in the afternoon to make up for it. I nodded. At noon, Leon and I grabbed lunch at the academy cafeteria. The food was surprisingly good. Leon never stopped talking. He launched into stories about Southern Empire cuisine and kept going. I didn't mind. I liked learning about the continent. Meanwhile, Word of me protecting Adele that morning spread fast through the Warrior Academy. Various groups and gangs held meetings warning their members to stay away from her. One guy named Harold, who'd been eyeing Adele, complained that they had enough people to overwhelm me. His friends stared at him. Turned out he'd skipped the duel with Damon and had no idea what I could do. His leader shut him down hard. Nobody in the academy wanted to mess with me. Other strong fighters could be bought off with gifts or deals, but I was both powerful and completely unreasonable. People didn't just lose, they didn't even see it coming. That afternoon, Leon gave me several magic devices he'd crafted in his spare time. The highest was 3rd rank, but more than enough for now. When I walked out of the academy gates, something was wrong. Not just Derek waiting with the carriage. 2 full squads of family guards were standing at attention. Derek rushed over. "Young master, the secret realm has been exposed." My eyebrows shot up. Father had sent guards because the key was on me. I jumped in the carriage and we headed home under escort. The estate felt different, tense. Jonas was waiting by the entrance. He told me father had gone to the palace with Blant and Fabian. The leak came from the Mick family's side. Their head butler turned out to be a member of something called the Rage Church and had leaked everything. I went to my room, and the maids started their usual massage routine. Soon Jonas knocked. Father was back. In the meeting room, father was ripping into Blant for the leak. "You can't even control your own people. Now the whole city knows." Blant sat in silence. His butler's betrayal had blindsided him. Worse, the timing of the secret realm opening, right during the old emperor's birthday, was suspicious. The church was probably planning something. Fabian tried calming father down, pointing out that Blant had already compensated with resources. Father snapped back. "Would you trade your realm slots for resources?" Fabian had no answer. When I walked in, father cooled down. After Blant and Fabian left, he explained the new situation. Originally 3 families split 300 slots. Now every noble in the capital knew. The new arrangement, Grey family, Mick family, Ward family, and the Royal Ashton family each got 50 slots. The remaining 100 would be distributed by the royals to other noble houses. Each slot now cost 1 4th-rank treasure plus 50,000 gold coins, way more than before. Because the Mick family caused the leak, Blant gave us 10 of his slots as compensation. So we ended up with 60. Father gave me 10 special coins representing the extra slots from the Mick family, saying I could distribute them however I wanted. He told me this was my best chance to build my own team, so I shouldn't give them away carelessly. I pocketed them. Plus, I still had nearly 200 secret slots nobody knew about. Then he mentioned Fiona had arrived and was training at the practice grounds. He also warned me to stay safe since the key was on me now. I tried bringing up the 5th-rank treasure he'd promised at the plaza. He immediately got irritated. "You still want that? You think we old men couldn't tell those were Sophia's underwear? Fabian would have strung you up if we weren't in public. Stop going after Sophia. Our families cannot marry." I mumbled excuses that got quieter and quieter while his voice got louder. Finally, I just stubbornly insisted he'd made a promise. He grumbled, but gave in. "Fine. Go pick one from the vault yourself. I'm sick of you saying I don't keep my word." I bolted out the door to go find Fiona. She was in the practice yard, tall and sharp, her ponytail swinging as she swung her sword with impressive skill. I watched silently from the side until my staring got too much for her, and she stopped. Fiona knew I wanted her. But as a 3rd-rank knight, she couldn't be forced into anything she didn't want. That's why she wasn't afraid of me like the household staff. She sheathed her sword and gave me a knight's bow. I asked if she knew why father called her back. She nodded. She'd be my personal guard. When I grinned at the word, personal, her face turned slightly red. She said she knew what it implied, but asked me to show restraint because she wanted to focus on getting stronger. I leaned close to her face. "You sure you don't want my personal training guidance? 2 people practicing together is always faster than 1. She stepped back. "No thank you. My current training speed is fine." I smiled mysteriously. "All right, but if you change your mind later, I might not be so easy to find." We walked together to the family vault so I could claim my 5th-rank treasure. But the guard at the door wouldn't let me in without an identification token, the jade badge Jonas had used last time. I tried telling him I was Ren Gray and my face should be identification enough. He didn't budge. "No token, no entry. Family head's orders." I sputtered and cursed under my breath, but couldn't really argue. Good security was good security. I asked him to at least call Bo out. Boa came through the door and immediately understood the situation. He apologized for the stubborn guard and asked what I needed. I need a 5th rank treasure. Father approved it. Boa froze. A 5th rank treasure? What for? Those aren't to be used lightly. I told Boa not to worry about details. Just bring me any magic type 5th rank treasure. He thought for a moment and said he'd deliver it to my room. I headed upstairs with Fiona. The maids had cleaned up the morning's mess completely. Because of the secret realm situation, everyone had to stay inside today. So instead of greeting me at the door, the maids were all in my room waiting. The moment I walked in, they swarmed me like excited songbirds. Are you hungry? Want to eat something? Or do you want to eat ally? They didn't even notice Fiona standing behind me. She looked confused. Wasn't Ren supposed to be violent and angry? Why were these girls acting so sweet and clingy with him? Eve welcomed Fiona inside. When the maids finally noticed her, Elena asked who she was. Fiona introduced herself professionally. 3rd rank knight, 7th squad captain from the Lion Knight Order, now my personal guard. The maids were impressed. Most of them hadn't even reached 1st rank. Ally immediately grabbed Fiona's arm, asking about training methods. The others crowded around too, and Fiona started teaching them about cultivation. I smiled watching this. I love the idea of developing my people. Once I had enough source energy, I'd give every maid a world-class training method. My combat maid squad would be legendary. Boa knocked and delivered a box. He caught one glimpse of all the girls in my room, immediately looked at the floor, handed the box to Eve, and closed the door behind him on his way out. Inside the box was a beautiful crystal. I didn't bother identifying it, fed it straight to the Book of Arts. Source energy jumped by 14,751, bringing my total to 23,876. I felt rich. The maids were still pestering Fiona with questions. I pretended to pout. I'm starving and nobody cares about me. Ally and Alice rushed into my arms. Maeve and Elena went to the kitchen for dinner. Fiona frowned when her students were pulled away. She didn't say anything because of the status difference, but I could see she was annoyed. Exactly what I wanted. Using magic telepathy so only Ally and Alice could hear, I told them I had a secret mission. See Fiona? Want her joining us every night? Both girls turned red remembering last night, but nodded eagerly. I whispered my plan and they agreed to everything. I kissed them both hard. Complete the mission and I'll give you two a surprise. Maeve and Elena returned with a massive food cart. I waved my hand and conjured a big round dining table. The maids started setting out dishes, but wouldn't sit down. Eve explained it was against the rules for servants to eat at the same table as their master. I waved that off. In this room, my word is the rule. Even if my father walked in, he'd have to listen to me. Now sit down. Eating alone is boring. Eve sat first, next to me. The others nervously followed and relaxed once they saw I didn't mind. Some of them looked annoyed they hadn't sat down faster to grab spots next to me. I looked at Fiona, still standing alone, and frowned. Fiona said she'd already eaten, so I told her the room to the right of mine was hers now. There was even a connecting door between our rooms. She nodded and went through. Dinner with the maids was great. After their initial nervousness, they loosened up and started feeding me bites of food, excited about dishes they'd never tasted before. They loved me even more for letting them eat at my table. After dinner, I sat on the bed and suddenly felt something break inside me, like a membrane popping. My magic power surged. I'd advanced to mid-level first-rank mage. It had only been days, and I hadn't even used any treasures. The Patra Lotus was still untouched. The Heavenly Abyss meditation was terrifyingly efficient. Eve sensed it immediately, and the maids crowded around congratulating me. I played it cool, just a small breakthrough. Then I announced Ally would stay with me tonight to celebrate. I turned off the crystal lamp. The moonlight was beautiful, casting a soft glow over Ally's face. The soundproofing between rooms was excellent. About an hour later, Fiona finished her own training next door and decided to come teach the maids more about cultivation. She opened the connecting door and got a full view of what was happening. We all stared at each other. Her brain went blank. Then she slammed the door shut. From my side, I could only imagine her sitting in her room, drinking cold tea, trying to calm down. Next morning, I got up alone as usual, cleaned up, and locked the door behind me. In the hallway, I ran into Jonas, who asked where my bodyguard was. I said Fiona was still sleeping. He gave me a knowing look, clearly assumed she'd spent the night serving me. He warned me the capital was unstable and offered to assign a family shadow guard. I agreed, but asked for a female one. At breakfast, a figure emerged from my shadow. A tall woman in a black cloak knelt before me, codename Venom B, a fourth-rank mid-level hunter assassin who could hide inside my shadow. She'd be protecting me until things calmed down. At the academy, I was walking toward the mage tower when a familiar face appeared. The Mick family servant who delivered Sophia's underwear at the plaza. He handed me another identical fancy box, saying I'd left too quickly yesterday. Inside was a note with today's underwear color update from Damon's End of the Deal. I complained about him just handing it to me in the open. Last time you did this, the whole thing got exposed. He started laughing nervously and apologizing. Then his face froze. He bolted into the shadows and vanished. A burning stare hit the back of my neck. I slowly turned around. It was the last person I wanted to see right now. Sophia Ward. Sophia had been heading to the campus cafe with her friend Anna when she spotted me talking to that Mick family messenger and saw the same style box from last time. The messenger noticed her, panicked, and vanished into the shadows. I cursed him internally. This guy had the worst timing imaginable. I stuffed the box into my ring and tried to walk past Sophia like nothing happened. She appeared in front of me instantly and grabbed my arm. Ren Gray, explain that box. I played dumb. What box? I don't have any box. You just put it in your magic ring. I couldn't keep the act going. I took a deep breath, looked at the sky, then smiled at her. Sophia, your pink and white striped underwear today is very tasteful. I gave her a thumbs up. Time froze. Her combat energy shot straight to the top of her skull. Anna, her friend, completely lost it laughing. That snapped Sophia out of her shock. She drew her sword and came at me screaming, "Pervert! Scoundrel!" I dodged using teleportation. She was a mid-level second-rank knight, so I definitely wasn't going to take a hit from her angry strikes. While I was dodging, Anna was still doubled over laughing. I teleported next to her. "What are you laughing at?" Then I hit her with a quick wind spell that flipped her skirt up, revealing teddy bear print underwear. Even Sophia stopped attacking for a second. "Cute bears, nice taste," I said, raising an eyebrow. Anna went crimson, pulled out a whip from her ring, and joined Sophia in trying to murder me. Now 2 second-rank girls were chasing me across campus. I ran for the mage tower, no fighting allowed inside. I made it in safely. They stood outside looking like they wanted to burn the building down. Anna screamed that if she caught me she'd cut it off. Sophia just stared with fire in her eyes. I decided to head upstairs for class immediately. Behind me, Anna asked Sophia if I'd always been this shameless. Sophia sighed. "No, he used to be violent and explosive. Now he's just incredibly perverted and annoying." They left to go to class, vowing to get me later. After class, I didn't leave right away. I suspected Anna had people watching the tower exit. I waited in my room for a while, checked the entrance from inside, saw no sign of them, and cautiously walked out. What I didn't realize was that Anna had planted a lookout nearby. The moment I left, her spy used a communication scroll to alert her. She and Sophia dropped their lunch and sprinted toward the academy gate. But I'd already sensed something was off. Anna not camping outside was too suspicious. I teleported at full speed toward the gate, jumped in the carriage, and looked back just in time to see both girls arriving with furious faces. I mouthed the words at them through the carriage window, "Bears and stripes," both very tasteful. Then I smiled my most punchable smile and rode away while they looked ready to explode. I told Derek to take me to the Red Mill instead of going home. The knights escorted us through the capital's main street. When we pulled up, the owner Margaret rushed out to greet me, mentioning some of her girls had been asking about me. I told her they missed my money, not me. She laughed and didn't deny it. I looked at my knight escort and told them to come inside for food, my treat. The knight captain refused, saying protection came first. I compromised. Half would eat while the other half stood guard, then they'd switch. The captain agreed and thanked me. I told Margaret to prepare the best food for them and put it on my tab. We went inside. The first floor was dining, second floor was entertainment, third floor had private rooms for nobles. I had my own room up there. Despite my reputation as a regular, the old Ren had actually only ever come to watch dancing. He talked big, but never did anything with the women here. All my maids back home had been virgins, which proved it. I asked Margaret if she had any good dancers. She said the experienced girls danced better than the newcomers. This was actually why I came. I wanted to find professional dancers to teach my maids back home. Suddenly, there was a commotion outside my door. Some drunk noble named Manny was harassing a new girl in the hallway. She was crying and refusing to serve him, saying she'd only cooperate if given a light blessing. Otherwise, she'd rather die. Margaret went out and tried to smooth things over, offering to call other girls for him instead. Manny slapped her across the face so hard her hair ornaments scattered. She just smiled through it and kept trying to redirect him. He slapped her again. The new girl behind Margaret was sobbing, watching the woman protect her. Manny raised his hand for a third slap. Something in me snapped. Maybe it was the original Ren's temper. Whenever my mood got interrupted, a dark anger would rise up. I walked out, boosted my speed with wind magic, and kicked Manny square in the chest. Get the hell out of here. He flew several meters and crashed into a wall. His servants, Margaret, Fiona, everyone froze in shock. Margaret pulled back behind me with the girl, recognizing my temper. Manny's servant started cursing at me, but froze when he saw my face. He knew who I was. That didn't save him. I slapped him across the face with a touch of purple light, poison magic. He hit the floor, broke out in blisters, and started foaming at the mouth and convulsing. Watch your mouth, I said, and kicked him over to Manny. Manny screamed for backup. 6 fighters came out of his room, all mid to high second-rank warriors. Still drunk, he pointed at me and ordered them to kill me. One of them recognized me and tried to hold the others back, but Manny threatened to have them all killed if they didn't obey. They came at me. Fiona drew her sword and engaged them. She was 3rd rank, but fighting 6 second-rank warriors at once kept her pinned down. That's exactly what I wanted. I smiled and clapped my hands. Then I used magic to amplify my voice so it shook the entire building. Guards, the floor trembled. The knight captain burst up the stairs in seconds, shielded me behind him, and the rest of the knights flooded in. The spacious 3rd floor suddenly felt tiny. One command from the captain, and all 6 fighters were subdued instantly. Manny sobered up enough to realize what he'd done. The 6 men begged for mercy, saying they'd held back against Fiona on purpose. I smiled coldly. You know why I waited until you attacked before calling my men? Because I'm a reasonable person. Imperial law states that commoners who assault a noble, regardless of the circumstances, are sentenced to death. Their eyes went hollow. The knight captain looked at me. I touched the scratches on Fiona's armor. 6 swords fell. 6 heads rolled. Blood sprayed like fountains and painted the entire 3rd floor red. The knight captain's combat energy shield kept me clean. Manny was soaked in blood, screaming. I walked toward him through the puddles. He scrambled backward, crying. You can't kill me. I put my hand on his bloody face. Don't be scared, Manny. He went quiet for a second. Then I grabbed his head and slammed it into the floor, dislocating his jaw. I pulled him back up by the hair. When you get home, tell your father Marquis Torres whatever you want. But if I ever see you in the Red Mill again, I patted his face. He understood. He scrambled to his feet and ran downstairs on all 4s, not even looking back at his unconscious servant. I stood up, formed a water ball to wash the blood off my hands, and sighed. All I wanted was to watch some dancing. I walked back to my room through the blood. The knights disposed of the bodies and took positions at the door. Margaret sent the new girl back to her room, took a deep breath, and came in to ask if I still wanted dancers. I looked at her bruised face and flicked a healing spell at her. The swelling faded instantly. Yeah, go ahead. Give me a few who know different dance styles. She touched her healed cheek and nodded. Right away, young master. Soon Margaret brought in dancers in sheer outfits, along with musicians who set up quickly. The music started and the women performed seductive dances. This was exactly what I'd been looking for, the kind of dancing I wanted my maids to learn. After watching several rounds, the first dancer I selected immediately stripped and walked toward me. I waved her off. Put your clothes back on. That's not why I kept you. After seeing my maids every day, my standards were too high for this to impress me. She looked disappointed but obeyed. I watched more performances while asking Margaret about Manny. I knew the Red Mill was backed by the Morris Marquis family, so there was no reason to grovel before a lesser noble. She sighed and explained the Morris family was dealing with some serious internal crisis and had basically abandoned the Red Mill. On paper it was still theirs, but in reality nobody was protecting it. That explained why someone like Manny felt bold enough to cause trouble in a prime location on the capital's main street. I looked around at the dancers, the decor, the whole setup, and an idea started forming. After several more rounds, I'd picked 7 dancers I thought were the best. The constant seductive performances were getting to me, so I drank cold tea to cool down and decided to head home to my maids. I told Margaret I'd borrow the 7 dancers to teach my maids choreography and return them later. She seemed like she wanted to say something, but held back. When I asked for the bill, she refused payment, said I'd handled the Manny situation as thanks enough. I gave her a meaningful look. Fine, your treat then. The 3rd floor had been cleaned spotless already. On our way out, I felt someone watching me from somewhere inside. I glanced over but didn't dwell on it. Margaret brought out an extra carriage for the dancers. Then I pulled out one of my personal tokens and tossed it to her. Her eyes went wide. Stop pretending. This is what you've been angling for, isn't it? She'd been playing me the whole time. The free meal, the extra carriage. She wanted protection. My token means the Red Mill is under Ren Gray's protection now. I'll go get the deed from the Morris family in a couple days. From now on, you answer to me. Let's see who dares mess with my business. She dropped the act and smiled. You really do see right through people, young master. The Red Mill is in your hands. I got in the carriage and told Derek to head home. Margaret watched us leave, clutching the black token, finally able to breathe easy. She went back inside and announced everyone's pay was doubled today. By the time we reached home, it was evening. Eve was waiting, but behind her my maids were all glaring at me with pouty, resentful faces. Their master had gone to a pleasure house when he had them at home. I tried to put my arm around Eve, but she dodged me. First time she'd ever done that. I understood immediately. I grabbed Cecily and Ally instead and started explaining as we walked. I'd gone to find dance teachers for them, nothing else. Oh, you want to get us dance lessons? Obviously. None of you can dance, and I get bored at home sometimes. Their hostility toward the dancers behind us melted away instantly. I pulled Eve close and whispered that I'd been thinking about her the whole time to keep myself under control. She rolled her eyes but stopped resisting my arm. Next day after class, that Mick family messenger appeared from behind a tree. Before he could pull anything out, I stopped him. Wait, don't take it out here. I checked every direction for Sophia, then led him near the mage tower where I could escape quickly if needed. Okay, now. He reached into his bag, rummaged around, then froze. He dumped everything out frantically. No box. Young master. The box is gone. I grabbed his collar. You lost it? How do you lose something like that? He apologized and offered to get a backup from his family head. But I'd had enough. The underwear reports had been a stupid prank from the start, and getting caught twice by Sophia was more than enough. What's your name? Hugh Connolly, young master. Hugh, go tell Blant to stop sending these. Forget I ever asked. Fabian is going to actually kill me at this rate. He nodded and left. What I didn't know was that Anna, Sophia's friend, had drugged Hugh and stolen the box. She proudly presented it to Sophia in her training room. They opened it together. Inside was just a note. Sophia's underwear today. White lace. Sophia's face went crimson. Anna immediately declared she'd borrow her father's spatial sealing artifact, so next time they caught me, I couldn't teleport away. Meanwhile, I was in a carriage heading to the Morris family estate outside the city to get the Red Mill's deed. As we approached, something felt wrong. Knights were patrolling everywhere like it was wartime. They stopped my carriage, but let us through once they saw the gray lion crest and my face. The old butler Bertrand greeted me, and I got straight to the point. I wanted to buy the Red Mill's property deed and its staff contracts. He told me the Morris family head had returned to their territory months ago. The one running things here was the young master, Ollie. Bertrand took me to the guest room. Ollie walked in looking exhausted. We knew each other. I'd seen him at the Central Plaza just days ago watching the Harlan drama. He cut straight to business too. I know why you're here. The Red Mill is one of our most profitable businesses in the capital. 3 million gold coins. Final price. I spat out my tea. The Red Mill was worth maybe 1.6 million at most. I'd brought about 1.3 million hoping to negotiate down. 3 million? You think I'm an idiot? I could buy 2 Red Mills for that price. Ollie smiled at my shock and said his opening price was obviously negotiable. Fine. I countered with 10,000 gold coins. He spat out his tea. Are you joking? We went back and forth until he asked the real question. Did I have any secret realm slots left? I paused, then nodded. His eyes lit up before he could hide it. The Morris family had only gotten 3 slots from the royal distribution, way too few for a marquee house. He got up and started pouring my tea like a servant. Everything has a price, right? Name yours. I played reluctant, saying my father gave me the slots to build my inner circle and would kill me if I gave them away. We negotiated. He started at 4 slots for the red mill. I acted pained. We settled on 3 slots plus 500,000 gold coins for the deed, staff contracts, and everything. Then he dangled the bait he'd been saving. You like beautiful women, right? I'll tell you a secret. About a legendary beauty. That got my attention. He asked if I knew about Greta Sek, the famous world-class dancer everyone thought was dead. My jaw dropped. He shook his head. She was alive, hiding in Morris family territory. She'd come to him needing help, which is the only reason he even knew. He stopped talking and looked at me with that pay up expression. I put 3 special coins and a gold card worth 500,000 on the table. He inspected the coins carefully. I complained about the lack of trust. He reminded me I had a history of being untrustworthy. Everything checked out. He handed me a box with the Red Mill deed and staff contracts, plus a stack of documents with everything he knew about Greta, her location, background, all of it. He said winning her over was my problem, but if I gave him 1 more coin, he'd be my ultimate wingman. I tossed him a 4th coin without hesitation. He caught it, stunned that I'd actually given it. His eyes went serious. Ren, any news about Greta? I'll tell you immediately. I will personally make sure you get her. I owe you that much. I patted his shoulder and told him to plan everything for when I visited their province. He practically wanted to become blood brothers on the spot. The Morris family was known for keeping promises, so I believed every word. After I left, his butler informed him of more family trouble. Ollie sighed and said he preferred dealing with me over other nobles. When asked why, he answered simply, "At least it's not exhausting." I went straight to the Red Mill and showed Margaret the deed. She was stunned I'd gotten it in just 1 day. She bowed, giving me quite the view, and pledged herself and the girls to my service. I asked about finances. She brought out the books, around 12,000 gold coins monthly, about 132,000 per year. Not bad at all, considering my family's total annual tax revenue was only 17 million. I told her the place needed changes under new ownership. She tensed up, probably expecting me to fire people. Instead, I told her to bring every single staff member to the 1st floor and pull everyone away from their clients. If any customer had a problem, send them to me. The place erupted in complaints. Angry men stomped downstairs yelling about getting interrupted mid-service and demanding to see the owner. They expected Ollie from the Morris family. Instead, they found me sitting in a chair sipping tea. The yelling died instantly. Everyone remembered what happened on the 3rd floor a few days ago. When Margaret announced I was the new owner, one guy who'd been screaming the loudest suddenly smiled and said he had absolutely no complaints. The rest fell in line immediately. One clever guy even called his payment a congratulatory gift and bolted. Nobody wanted their money back. They were too scared I might take offense. Once the customers cleared out, I had Margaret lock the doors and address the whole staff. With everyone watching, I laid out 3 new rules. First, the Red Mill would be renovated within a month and renamed the Dream Upper Pavilion. Second, I'd send people to audit the books regularly, and anyone caught cheating would face my methods. They knew what that meant. Third, special training would be arranged for all of them soon, and I expected everyone to take it seriously. I continued laying out rules, for in total, the mood in the room was low, which was exactly what I wanted. Time for the carrot after the stick. I announced a new reward system, monthly, quarterly, and yearly bonuses. The top earner each month gets 30% of what she brought in as a bonus. The quarterly winner gets 40%. The yearly champion gets 50% plus a special extra reward. I'd adapted this from the company bonus structure I remembered from Earth. The women perked up immediately. They'd never seen anything like this system, and it was obviously the best deal they'd ever been offered. They started whispering excitedly. Margaret looked stunned too. The rules were stricter, but these incentives would motivate everyone to work their hardest. I gave them the rest of the day off and headed home. The moment I got back, Father called me in. He'd seen the financial records showing I'd withdrawn 1.5 million gold coins that morning. He was furious. That was nearly a tenth of the family's annual tax revenue. I told him I'd bought the Red Mill from the Morris family. He couldn't believe Ollie had sold for less than 3 million. I pulled out the deed. He snatched it, studied it carefully. Then his angry face instantly transformed into a proud grin. Wonderful. You're finally thinking about the family. I grabbed the deed back. Who said this is for the family? It's my personal business. He didn't argue. Probably figured what's mine is the family's anyway. He was just relieved I'd spent the money on something legitimate. Then he handed me a fancy invitation to the Anderson auction in 2 days. He'd be heading back to the family territory to select people for the secret realm, so I'd attend in his place. Jonas would go with me as an advisor, and the family had prepared 20 million gold coins for purchases. He gave me a long lecture about behaving while he was away and specifically told me to stop provoking Sophia. I half listened and nodded. 2 days later, auction day arrived. The academy was practically empty. Nobles, teachers, and students had all gone to the capital's biggest auction house. The Anderson family were a merchant dynasty who operated across the empire and multiple foreign powers, always neutral, never political. Their auctions consistently featured rare treasures, so every major faction let them do business freely. That morning my maids all pouted because I'd initially only planned to bring ally. I caved and told them all to get dressed and come along. They squealed with excitement, and each gave me a morning kiss. Out of their maid uniforms, every one of them looked stunning in her own style. Downstairs, Jonas took one look at my entourage and smiled without comment. Fiona pouted slightly. We needed 2 carriages to fit everyone, and our little convoy set off for the auction house with the family knights riding escort. The maids all crammed into my carriage, making it packed but manageable. Fiona and Jonas took the second one. The girls pressed against the windows, pointing at the countryside scenery like it was a field trip. Inside the capital, traffic was terrible. Every noble in the city was heading to the Anderson auction house. Street vendors lined the roads trying to profit from the crowds, driving the inspectors crazy. They'd chase vendors off one side, and new ones would pop up on the other. Our gray family crest cleared the way. We bypassed the regular entrance clogged with carriages and used the VIP lane reserved for Earl rank and above. The auction staff recognized our crest immediately and didn't even bother checking my invitation properly. A guide named Judy led us inside. The entrance tunnel was enormous, the decor impossibly luxurious. My maids were all slack-jawed with amazement. Then I spotted someone who instantly killed my mood. Baron Quinn. The Quinn family was our blood enemy. If our relationship with the Ward family was a 70, the Quinns were -70. Centuries ago, during imperial expansion, the Quinn family had caused the death of the Grey family head in a massive war. Hundreds of years later, the hatred hadn't cooled one bit. Baron was in the hallway assaulting an auction staff member. His guards had the girl pinned down while he had his way. Judy looked pained but helpless. Well, if it isn't Baron. TSK, that's tiny. Never seen one that small. He turned around and started to say my name. Before he finished, I fired a blazing magic spear straight at him. I had good reasons. First, showing kindness to a family enemy would be pathetic. Second, Jonas was right behind me, a 6th-rank powerhouse. With that backing, I was untouchable. Even if I killed Baron, Father would praise me. The worst the Empire could do was send me home for a while. One of Baron's guards deflected my spear, which blasted a deep hole in the wall. Everyone froze at my sudden attack. My name isn't for trash like you to speak. Baron drew his sword. Both sides faced off, but his strongest guard was only 4th rank. Jonas released just a hint of his aura, and they couldn't move. Before I could decide my next move, a sultry voice interrupted. Oh my, young Master Ran, I've missed you so much. A fox-like woman with phoenix eyes and waist-length hair appeared from nowhere and draped herself over my shoulder. This was Chiming Jones, the auction house's top auctioneer. My maids bristled behind me. She pressed against me with her chest practically spilling out of her dress. The old wren would have melted, but I stayed calm. She was surprised I wasn't affected. I grabbed her waist and pulled her in close, faces almost touching. I'm honored to have the famous auctioneer Chiming's personal attention. She felt my hand pushing boundaries and spun away laughing. Come to your room. I'll give you a very thorough preview of today's items. I smiled and agreed, but said I needed to handle something first. I turned back to Baron, my tone going ice cold. A crackling thunder spear formed in my hand, aimed right at him. I launched it. Lightning exploded everywhere, but Chiming blocked it. I narrowed my eyes at her. Chiming Jones, are you making yourself my enemy? Chiming tried to approach me to explain, but Fiona drew her sword and blocked her. I told Chiming I was patient with beautiful women, so I'd give her one more chance. I formed another thunder spear and launched it at Baron. This time Chiming couldn't intervene. Fiona had her pinned. The spear hit Baron dead center in the chest. but a necklace around his neck flashed blue and projected a barrier. Third-rank shield device. With my current power, I couldn't break through it. And Jonas couldn't directly attack Bernd either. That would break the unwritten rule about elders not attacking juniors. If we crossed that line, I'd face assassination attempts from 4th and 5th rank killers in the future. Chiming looked relieved Bernd survived. If he'd died at the auction, the Quinn family would have been enraged and a full-scale battle between our families would have erupted right here. My killing intent faded. Chiming quickly offered me an exit. Come on, I can't wait to show you around. I paused, then smiled. If I can't kill Bernd, Uncle Jonas, kill the rest. Jonas nodded, vanished, and reappeared a few breaths later. He released his pressure hold on Bernd's group. Every single guard and servant around Bernd suddenly froze and collapsed, dead. Not a drop of blood visible. They didn't even know what killed them. Bernd stared at his fallen men with a dark expression. You'll pay for this, Ren. Then he walked away without even collecting the bodies. I didn't stop him, couldn't kill him anyway. I put my arm around Chimung and headed inside. She didn't resist my wandering hands. Probably figured she owed me for blocking my attack earlier. Auction staff quietly cleaned up the corpses behind us. Chimung led us to the Gray family's private viewing room. The front wall was made entirely of specially treated crystal. We could see the entire auction floor below, but nobody could see in. The room was massive, stocked with expensive wine and fruit, and had a control panel with buttons for placing bids telepathically. 2 pretty attendants were already waiting inside. Chiming handed me a catalog of today's items and said she needed to go prepare. She was the lead auctioneer. I reluctantly let go of her waist. She smiled and left. My maids immediately glared at the closed door, then swarmed me with affection. Jonas studied the catalog to identify what the Gray family needed. I poured myself expensive red wine and joined the girls at the crystal wall. I spotted familiar faces below, mage tower teachers, minor nobles. The girls were amazed at everything since none of them had ever been to an auction this grand. The seats below filled up. Then Chiming emerged from behind the stage curtain, wearing a stunning red dress with her hair pinned up. The crowd below went wild. My maids bared their little fangs again with jealousy. The lights dimmed until only the stage was illuminated. Chiming's clear voice rang out. Thank you all for waiting. The Anderson auction now officially begins. Fireworks exploded outside as the auction officially began. The first item rose from the stage floor, the Amber Sword, a 3rd-rank weapon with a strange gravitational effect that could repel other weapons. Starting price, 50,000 gold coins. People started bidding. When it hit 65,000, I pressed my button. Everyone below immediately stopped. Nobody wanted to upset the Gray family over a sword. Jonas was confused. He said we had plenty of swords at home. I told him to watch. Just as I expected, the Quinn family jumped in. 15,000 gold coins. Then 20. I kept pushing them up to 16, and they went to 20. Then I stopped. Chiming called it. 20,000, going once. Twice. Sold to family head Teddy. Teddy Quinn realized instantly that I'd baited him. He'd spent 20,000 on a sword worth maybe half that, just because his son's humiliation had clouded his judgment. I laughed watching their room from behind the crystal wall. Jonas understood my strategy now. Since the Quinn family would try to drive up prices on anything we wanted, because of the hallway incident, I needed to confuse them first. Make them unsure whether I actually wanted something or was just tricking them into overpaying. Once burned enough times, they'd stop competing with me entirely. Over the next several rounds, I spent about 70,000 gold coins on worthless items, deliberately letting the Quinn family outbid me on 3 of them. Teddy ended up buying overpriced junk, including 30,000 gold coins for a piece of clothing. He was completely confused now. He couldn't tell if I genuinely wanted something or was setting another trap. He swore off competing with me for the rest of the auction. That's when I knew my plan had worked. From my old life on Earth, I'd tagged along to enough auctions to pick up the basic tricks. The key was making the opponent second-guess everything. 3 fake-outs was the minimum to break someone's confidence. Jonas looked at me with surprise. He knew I'd supposedly never attended an auction before, yet I was playing it like a veteran. The morning passed with items selling one after another. After lunch in the room, the real treasures started coming out, the ones the major noble families had actually come for. The next item was special enough for Chiming to build it up. She explained that the Anderson family had found it in a secret realm at tremendous cost. 2 5th-rank warriors died, 4 4th-rank warriors died, and countless lower-ranked fighters were lost battling a dying red dragon. A display case rose from the floor holding a massive egg as tall as a person, covered in fiery red patterns. A red dragon egg. Testing showed strong life energy inside. It could actually hatch into a real dragon. Starting price, 1 million gold coins. The crowd went insane. A dragon was the ultimate symbol of power. A baby dragon starts at 3rd rank strength, and adults reach 7th rank. Bidding exploded past 1 million instantly. I watched from above with no intention of buying it. Dragons take 100 years to grow. With the Book of Arts, I could reach 7th rank myself in far less time. But I was happy to bid up the price to drain my competitors' funds before the items I actually wanted came up. I jumped in at 3 million, pushing the price up 50,000 in one shot. The Royal Ashton family countered at 3.2 million. The Ward family went to 3.5 million. It kept climbing. My maids watched with their mouths hanging open. They'd never seen amounts like this. They were used to a few thousand gold coins at most. When the Mitchell family hit 4.5 million, Blant Mick couldn't take it anymore. He opened his room's crystal wall, exposing his face to everyone. Lehman, are you insane? 4.5 million for an egg, one by one. Every major family opened their walls. I opened mine last. With all the noble houses now visible to each other, the auction entered its real phase. Blant noticed only I was here, not my father. I explained father had business elsewhere and sent me. The family heads glanced at my room full of pretty maids and rolled their eyes, but nobody said anything. Nobody wanted to provoke the guy who'd burn millions just to spite you. The bidding war continued. The Mitchell and Torres families started cursing at each other openly. 480,000. Keep bidding if you dare. I sat back holding Cecily in my lap, watching nobles scream at each other like it was entertainment. I held my wine glass out for Eve to refill. Then I offered Cecily a sip. Her eyes went wide at the taste. This is so good. I told her it was 10,000 gold coins a bottle. That single sip was worth half a year of her salary. She could have been bought several times over for the price of one bottle. She buried her face in my chest, pouting. I'm not that cheap. I stroked the little white cowlick sticking up from her hair. Of course not. Cecily is my priceless treasure. I wouldn't trade you for anything. The Dragon Egg bidding war ended when Teddy Quinn dropped 500 million gold coins. Everyone went silent. Even the royal family backed off. That was enough to buy a 6th-rank treasure. The other nobles smirked at Teddy. He'd blown a huge chunk of his budget on an egg that would take a century to mature, and the real items hadn't even come out yet. Next up was a heart, still beating, flickering with lightning and fire. A Thunderfire Lion King's heart, taken from a 5th-rank beast. It could massively boost lion-type mounts, possibly even awaken new elemental talents in them. Humans could use it too for combat energy enhancement and fire lightning resistance. Starting price, 600,000. Everyone glanced at me. The only person with a lion mount was my father. Time to have some fun. I bid 700,000. The Quinn family immediately countered at 800,000. I went to 1 million with a completely blank face. Teddy stared at me, trying to read my expression. After getting tricked earlier, he wasn't sure if I really wanted this or was baiting him again. He decided I must genuinely want it for my father's lion and went aggressive. 1.5 million. I followed at 1.6 million. He slammed down 2 million. Got him. I took a sip of wine and laughed. Teddy's heart sank. Not bidding anymore, I said casually. The Quinn family sure is rich. I wonder how much imperial tax money you've been skimming. I told him my father had already found what he needed for his mount's advancement. The heart was optional at best. I'd just been playing with him. Again, my laughter echoed through the entire auction hall. Everyone felt the sheer audacity. Teddy snapped. His aura lashed out toward me like a venomous snake. Jonas intercepted it instantly. The two clashed with pure pressure alone, and the people below felt like they were drowning in a stormy ocean. I poured fuel on the fire. Teddy, nice name. Same as a dog I used to own. The royal family's representative, Ivan Ashton, told everyone to stand down. Auction rules prohibited fighting. Both sides withdrew their pressure. Then Teddy coughed up blood. His children rushed to him. The nobles all turned to look at Jonas, who stood beside me with a faint smile. Teddy wasn't weak. He was mid-tier among the family heads. Yet Jonas had injured him through aura clash alone. Everyone quietly raised their estimation of Jonas's true power. I looked at the bleeding Teddy with raised eyebrows, then turned to Jonas with genuine surprise. Uncle Jonas, you can beat that old dog? No attempt to lower my voice whatsoever. Jonas chuckled. Barely. I have a slight edge. I slowly looked back at Teddy. Something dark flickered in my eyes. Then, Uncle Jonas, let's kill him. The entire auction hall went dead silent. Teddy's muscles locked up. Every nerve in his body screamed danger. This kid is insane. Jonas paused too, then slowly turned his gaze toward Teddy. The entire auction hall went dead silent after my words. Nobody dared breathe loudly. Chiming's smile froze on stage. Teddy locked every muscle in his body, eyes fixed on Jonas. The royal representative Ivan stood up in shock. A nobleman openly trying to kill a marquis in public? He wanted to intervene, but knew a 4th-rank warrior couldn't stop 2 6th-rank fighters. Every noble in the building was terrified. If I was crazy enough to kill a marquis, what would stop me from taking out a viscount or 2 for fun? Then someone kicked my door clean off its hinges. What the hell do you think you're doing? Father stormed in. His arrival immediately broke the tension. He hit the button to close our crystal wall and told everyone to carry on. His son didn't know when to stop, and he'd handle it. The entire hall exhaled with relief. Chiming recovered and announced a 10% discount on all remaining auction prices to soothe everyone's nerves. Behind our closed wall, Father demanded to know what I was thinking. He said he'd felt uneasy the whole trip back and his eyelid kept twitching, so he rushed straight here, just in time to catch me about to start a war. I shrugged. Kill him, and it's done. My fist is the law. Even if the Empire investigates, who's going to make trouble with the Grey family over a dead man? Father's mouth twitched. He admitted nobody would fight us over a corpse, but that wasn't the point. If we killed everyone who crossed us, imperial law would mean nothing. Eventually we'd make enemies of the entire world. Noble life wasn't about fighting. It was about navigating relationships. His lecture actually got through to me. I dropped the idea. He also scolded Jonas for going along with my nonsense. After a few more auction rounds, Father reopened our wall. He sat in the main seat now, with me and my maids off to the side. Everyone noticed the change and relaxed. The Ren situation had been resolved. Then the next major item appeared, the Heart of Dickens, a stone with mysterious markings, retrieved from a sunken ship in the Southern Sea. Even Father sat up straight. Chiming explained that the Dickens was an incredibly rare deer-like creature, now virtually extinct for centuries. Every part of its body had miraculous properties. Its blood could fully heal a 5th-rank warrior. Its meat and eyes had other amazing uses. The heart could extend a person's lifespan by at least 5 years. The nobles below went crazy. Rich old men who loved their luxurious lives and feared death above all else started screaming bids before Chiming even finished talking. Starting price, 5 million gold coins. The lower nobles bid frantically, climbing fast. Then the royal family's Ivan dropped the hammer. 8 million gold coins. That single bid yanked the price far above where the smaller nobles could follow. The real competition was about to begin. Nobody was surprised when Ivan bid for the Dickens heart. The old emperor's birthday was in a month, and this was obviously a gift for him. His 8 million scared off most small nobles, but they got creative. They pooled their money into groups to compete together. I asked Father why we weren't bidding. He scoffed. With what? Our remaining 10 million? Ivan came here specifically for this. He's got at least 30 million. We can't win. He was right. The price climbed to 11 million, then kept going. The big nobles dropped out, but the small noble coalitions became Ivan's biggest competitors. Ivan didn't care. It wasn't his money. It was the emperor's. He just kept pressing the button like a machine. The heart sold for 23 million. Ivan's funds were basically wiped out. The afternoon flew by. Father spent our remaining 10 million on some decent items. Then Chiming announced the final lot, something not listed in the catalog that would dazzle everyone. She gave me a strange look. I had no idea why. The display case rose, and I jumped to my feet. Inside was a girl. Long pointed ears, snow-white skin, silky black hair, an impossibly beautiful face with something almost holy about it. Shackled hands and feet, kneeling in the case with dried tears on her cheeks. She looked so fragile it made you want to protect her. Chiming confirmed it. A real elf. Specifically a dark elf, labeled a sin race by the elven nation, meaning they weren't protected by elven law. Buying and selling dark elves wouldn't provoke the elves. Starting price, 2 million gold coins. The nobles below went wild. Old men were practically drooling, shouting about tasting an elf. I rushed to father's side and started pouring him tea with my most devoted son expression. Father, how much money do we have left? Can I borrow some? He leaned back casually. Oh, my shoulders are so sore from traveling all morning. I immediately got behind him and started massaging. Sore shoulders? Let your son help. So about that loan. He enjoyed the massage for a while, then nodded. Forget borrowing. Take the remaining 700,000. Spend it however you want. 700,000? The elf was already past 2.9 million. Father, that's nowhere near enough? He acted surprised. Oh, you want the dark elf? Yes. He sipped his tea slowly. No money. 700,000 is all that's left. I snatched his teacup away. I gave him one last chance, eyes radiating danger. Really not lending me anything, he crossed his arms and looked away. Fine. He asked for this. I walked to the edge of our platform. The elf was at 3.7 million. I didn't bother with the button. I amplified my voice with magic and shouted across the entire hall. For a million, Teddy Quinn immediately countered. For 110,000, I exploded. Shut your mouth, you old dog. Say one more word and I swear I'll have Uncle Jonas end you right now. My profanity echoed through the auction house, raw and unfiltered. Teddy turned red, speechless. Father yelled from behind me. Ren, what are you doing? You can't threaten a marquis in public. Are you asking for a beating? Then he added, how can you say it so openly? I spun around. Old man, shut up too. I'm in the middle of cursing someone. Stop interrupting. Father actually went silent, staring at me in genuine shock. I'd gone completely feral. Not even my own father was safe. Every noble in the building stared at me with their mouths open. I'd just told my own father to shut up in front of the entire aristocracy. Then I turned back to Teddy and kept cursing him out. His ancestors, his family, everything. My insults were so creative and relentless that Teddy actually got dizzy. But he couldn't fight back. Father's earlier comment, how can you say it so openly, was basically a threat aimed at Teddy. If Teddy attacked me, it would give Father and Jonas an excuse to double-team him. Teddy eventually couldn't take it anymore and stormed out, slamming his door. I ran out of curse words and shouted my final bid. 420,000. Anyone else want to try me? Dead silence. Nobody wanted their entire ancestry publicly roasted. They couldn't outswear me, couldn't fight me, so bidding against me was just asking for trouble. The auction manager, a man named Torvin Anderson, came out from backstage and politely told me I was violating auction rules by threatening other bidders. I looked down at the crowd. Did I threaten anyone? Every small noble frantically shook their heads. No, not at all. We're just out of money. The big nobles on the upper platform stayed silent too. Then Anna, the little devil from the Mitchell family, tried to call me out. I mouthed 2 words at her. Teddy bears. She turned crimson, stomped her foot, and sat back down. Her father Lehman watched the exchange with growing suspicion and murderous eyes. First Sophia, now his daughter. The manager backed off and even offered me a gift as apology. Then Teddy came back and demanded they verify my funds. He didn't believe I actually had 4 million. 2 staff members entered my room to check. I squirmed. Father sat there with his arms crossed, enjoying my suffering. Served me right for talking back to him. I didn't have 4 million in cash, so I pulled out 6 secret realm coins. 6 coins, 6 slots. Enough or not? At roughly 300,000 per coin on the private market, that was only 1.8 million. Teddy gleefully pointed out I was still short. Father almost intervened. He was shocked I'd revealed the coins. But before he could speak, I looked at him with dangerous eyes and played my real card. Secret realm slots? I've got more. Just no coins for them. The entire hall went quiet. Then it hit everyone like a thunderbolt. The 300 slots, that was just what I'd told people. Nobody actually knew the real number. I could have been hiding dozens more. Even Father stared at me in shock. If he'd known I had extra slots, he would have given me money from the start. Ivan from the royal family asked the question everyone was thinking. How many more slots do you have, Ren? I started to answer. Father teleported across the room and clamped his hand over my mouth. He whispered frantically in my ear. Stop talking. You want the elf? Fine, Daddy's buying it. Just shut up. He turned to everyone with a forced smile. Don't listen to him. This kid lies about everything. There are only 300 slots, I promise. He asked, cheeming the current price. 420,000. He pulled out a 5 million gold card and handed it to the attendant without blinking. Father kept his hand over my mouth and whispered, "Tell everyone you were joking. I'll give you 1 4th-rank treasure." I rolled my eyes. He gritted his teeth. 3 4th-rank treasures. Final offer. I nodded. He let go. Everyone stared at me, waiting for the truth. I coughed awkwardly. That whole extra slots thing. I was just messing around. There are only 300. Really, nobody believed me. But since I wasn't talking, they couldn't push it. I noticed them all glancing at Father behind me, clearly planning to visit the Gray estate later to negotiate privately. Chiming wrapped things up fast. For 120,000, going once, twice, 3 times. Sold. Congratulations to young Master Rin on winning the beauty. Applause filled the hall. Chiming gave her closing speech, thanked everyone, and disappeared backstage. Some men chased after her hoping for a date. A staff member brought the dark elf to our room. She had a slave collar around her neck that prevented her from using magic against her master. They handed me the collar's control key, plus the gift box from the manager as his earlier apology. I looked at her. Her eyes were lifeless and empty. "What's your name?" Her voice came out pure and almost holy. "Evriel Hui." Father said we should head home. I noticed Evriel was barefoot and picked her up in a princess carry. She panicked and struggled, crying, "No," but the collar suppressed her strength to almost nothing. I spoke firmly. "Evriel." She went still. I softened my tone. "I'm only carrying you because you have no shoes. You want to walk through this place barefoot and cut your feet on stones? You belong to me now. I won't let that happen." She stopped fighting. I carried her out with my maids following. On the way out, I spotted the expensive wine we'd been drinking and told Eve to grab every bottle. For the ride home, Father made me ride beside him at the front of the convoy instead of sitting with the maids. His lion mount's pressure nearly paralyzed my horse, so I swapped to one of the unicorns pulling my carriage. Once he confirmed nobody could overhear us, he got to the point. "You even fooled your own father. How many extra slots do you really have?" I stared back at him. "None. You said so yourself. 300 total." He wasn't having it. "I'm serious. Tonight the estate is going to be flooded with nobles wanting to buy slots. You caused this. Give me a real number so I know what I'm working with." I looked away. He rode his lion around to face me again. 50? Is that right? Fine, 70. His tone went up. 100. That's it. 100 and no more. He studied me, then decided to believe it, for now. "So you were planning to keep 100 slots all for yourself, huh?" I huffed and refused to talk to him the rest of the way home. He just chuckled. The convoy rolled through the night and reached the Gray estate. Back in my room, I flopped onto my huge bed and bounced twice. Finally, some rest. I told Eve to take the maids and Evriel to the bath, get her cleaned up, and find her some clothes. The maids started undressing right there without caring that I was watching. They even showed off a little. Evriel was confused but got dragged along. Through the open bathroom door, I could hear them teasing her about how white and smooth her skin was and how I definitely love her body. I had to use magic to slam the door shut before I lost control. With everyone gone, I pulled out the Patra Lotus from Charlie. Mid-level 1st rank was too weak. Even though the Heavenly Abyss method was slowly building my power, I wanted to speed things up. I swallowed the lotus whole. A gentle but massive wave of magic started flowing through me. I activated the Heavenly Abyss method and began absorbing. The maids came out of the bath ready for fun, but saw me meditating on the bed and quietly tiptoed out without disturbing me. The absorption was fast. I shot through high-level 1st rank and reached the edge of 2nd rank. Just as I was about to break through, the Book of Art stirred and sent me a message. "Accept advancement challenge?" Declining means automatic advancement. Accepting and completing the challenge rewards 1 Heavenly Abyss bonus ability, 1 self-created spell of any element, and 1 random secret technique. Failure has no penalty. The challenge: temporarily seal the Heavenly Abyss method, then fight opponents up to mid-level 2nd rank. 10 attempts. Fail all 10 and the seal lifts. Automatic advancement happens anyway. I thought about it. Why wouldn't I accept? Without the Heavenly Abyss, my magic would drop to ordinary levels, making 2nd rank opponents tough. But there was zero downside to failing. Go big or go home. I accepted. Golden light from the book wrapped around me and faded. I summoned my magic. The dark gold was gone, replaced by plain blue. I was back to being an ordinary mage. Next morning, Eve brought breakfast. The moment I saw her, a faint golden mark appeared above her head. The Book of Arts had selected her as a potential challenge opponent, second-rank mid-level assassin. I didn't accept that fight. I wasn't going to battle Eve. I ate with the maids, but was distracted thinking about the challenge. I headed downstairs without my usual affection. The girls noticed something was off. He didn't even kiss Ally today. Is he okay? Did he have a bad dream? Evriel, standing behind them, spoke up quietly. As a dark elf, she was naturally sensitive to magic. I think I know what happened. Yesterday, he felt like a bottomless magical abyss. Today he feels ordinary, just a regular mage. The maids immediately concluded I'd had a cultivation accident during the night. Eve dropped what she was doing and rushed to tell my mother. I ran into Jonas on the stairs. He greeted me normally, but seemed to sense something was different about me today. Meanwhile, in Father's office, he was busy arguing with Ivan from the royal family, who was trying to buy 10 extra realm slots at double market price. Father kept insisting there were no extra slots. Then a maid rushed in and whispered something to Father. He slammed his desk and shot to his feet. What? Something happened to Ren? Back at the estate, Father panicked when a maid came in with news about me, but calmed down when he learned it was a cultivation issue, not a safety threat. He didn't know how to help. He was a knight, not a mage. Dean Cliff was away at the Mage Association, so Father ordered Jonas to gather every family mage to examine me when I got home. Ivan offered royal mage support and left. Father sat alone smoking his cigar, worried. At the academy gate, Blair was waiting for me with a warning. Anna had been searching the campus for me all morning, and Sophia was with her. Normally I wouldn't care, but without the Heavenly Abyss method, I couldn't spam teleportation or use my full power. I quietly admitted to Blair that I wasn't in top shape and we should avoid them. Walking through campus, I noticed golden marks appearing above certain people's heads, the Book of Arts selecting potential challenge opponents. Blair had one too, but the selections were strict. Only genuinely strong fighters qualified. Great for the challenge's legitimacy, terrible for me right now. Then I felt it. The people around us were thinning out. Something was wrong. A familiar energy wave hit me. Spatial lock. Someone had sealed the space around us. Ren, let's see you run now. Anna's voice came from behind us. I turned around. There she was with her whip, looking smug, and Sophia beside her looking deadly serious. Golden marks appeared above both their heads. The Book of Arts tagged them as valid opponents. Mid-level second rank and early second rank, both using the Empire's top breathing techniques. In my current state? No thanks. Blair pulled out his massive sword. I patted his arm and told him to put it away. We should be peaceful at school. I was really talking to the girls. Anna wasn't having it. I came here to beat you until you can't find your own teeth, I sighed. Then I threw a magic blast at them and yelled at Blair to run. The spell exploded into a cloud of red smoke. One of the irritating concoctions I'd learned from Grandma Kiri. It burned their eyes and throats, buying us time to sprint toward the mage tower. They went around the smoke and chased us down. They were both second rank and fast. They cut us off right before the tower entrance. No choice left. I told Blair to fight. He charged Sophia with his greatsword. They clashed instantly. Anna came at me with her whip. Without the Heavenly Abyss, I still had instant casting and the expanded magic reserves from before. I just lacked the power boost and the insane regeneration speed. I conjured a light spear and fired it at Anna. Her whip cracked against it mid-air, causing an explosion. Meanwhile, Blair was losing ground against Sophia. If he went down, I'd be fighting both of them alone. I needed a plan fast. Anna's whip lashed toward me. I raised a stone wall from the ground just in time to block it. Anna's whip shattered my stone wall, but lost its momentum. We traded blows back and forth near the mage tower. The mages upstairs opened their windows to watch like it was entertainment. They all assumed I was just playing around. Only my mentor Jonah and teacher Leon noticed something was off with me today. Then I lost focus for a second. Anna's whip caught me, but one of Leon's magic devices on my body activated and deflected it. She immediately threw a small knife, a magic nullifying blade that disabled the device on contact. Nice item. I bent down and pocketed it mid-fight, which made her furious. She charged in close. I dodged her whip by bending backward, but she followed up with a kick aimed at my chest. I threw up a barrier spell, but without the Heavenly Abyss boosting my power, it was pathetically weak. Her foot punched right through it, and slammed into my chest at full force. She'd expected the barrier to hold and couldn't pull back in time. Blood burst from my mouth. I flew backward, skidded across the ground, and blacked out. Everyone froze. Anna was the most shocked. She'd never meant to hit that hard. Blair saw me go down and completely lost it. His eyes went blood red, and he entered a berserk state. He brought his greatsword down on Sophia, so hard she was driven to one knee, the ground cracking for meters around. Her hands nearly lost grip on her sword. Then he abandoned Sophia and charged straight at the stunned Anna, swinging his blade at her head with killing intent. I opened my eyes just enough to see this. Good brother. He really goes all in when it counts. I was about to get up and save Anna, but Sophia flew in and blocked Blair's strike midair, getting launched away from the impact. That kid really was a true friend to Anna. Before Blair could swing again, the mages finally reacted. A barrier wrapped around Anna, and Jonah jumped from the tower window and hit Blair with a calming spell. Blair snapped out of his rage and ran to my side screaming for me. Grandma Kiri rushed out and started feeding me high-grade healing potions. She put her hand on mine to examine me with magic, and her brow furrowed deeper and deeper. But I could tell she was confused, not worried. My injuries were already healing way too fast. I secretly scratched her palm with my finger. She understood immediately. I was faking. She played along perfectly. She stood up with a grim face and announced to everyone that my injuries were serious and I'd need extended bed rest. She scolded Anna and Sophia for being too rough. The mages all piled on, lecturing the two girls. Anna's eyes welled up with tears. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. The mages softened up and started carrying me toward the tower to recover. Then Anna spoke up quietly. Can we help take care of him too? I'm pretty sure my mouth twitched upward for a split second. Jonah thought he saw it, but rubbed his eyes and decided he'd imagined it. Kiri nodded and told the girls to come along. Anna grabbed Sophia and hurried after them. Blair was still by my side looking devastated until he heard my voice in his head through magic telepathy. Blair, go home. I'm fine. That whole thing was an act for those two. Don't blow my cover. Just come visit me these next couple days. Blair's expression briefly shifted as he glanced at Anna and Sophia. But he kept his worried face on for show. Someone was about to have a very bad time. The mages carried me to my room in the tower. Grandma Kiri shooed everyone out, saying I needed rest. She told Anna and Sophia to wait outside. Once the door closed and we were alone, she chuckled. All right, get up. I flipped off the bed and poured her tea. You're the best, Grandma. Thanks for not blowing my cover. She laughed, but admitted my blood spitting had genuinely scared her at first. She asked whether I wanted to recover at home or stay at the tower. I chose the tower. Staying here kept my act going. I wrote a letter to Father explaining I was fine and just pretending, plus instructions for my mates to practice dancing with the dance teachers while I was away. Kiri took the letter to give to Blair for delivery. Then I lay back down, and she called the girls in. Anna was visibly nervous and guilty. Sophia was calm as usual. I frowned at them. What do you want? Another fight? Anna waved her hands frantically. No, I'm here to help take care of you. It's my fault you're hurt. I said I was thirsty. She poured tea and brought it over. I told her to feed it to me. She hesitated, but did it. Then she told Sophia she could handle things alone and sent her home with a letter for her father saying she'd stay a few days. Once Sophia left, it was just the two of us. Anna asked what was wrong with me today. She'd noticed my magic felt way weaker than usual. I showed her my magic. She was confused by its blue color instead of the usual gold. I confirmed something was off with my cultivation but told her not to worry about it, and that normally she'd never have been able to touch me. She pouted but held her tongue since I was the patient. Back home, Father read my letter, grumbled about me disobeying his orders to stay away from Sophia, and told Blair to remind me not to target Sophia. He told Jonas to stand the family mages down for now and delivered my second letter to Eve. Anna's father Lehman read her letter too. He figured since I was seriously injured and bedridden, his daughter was safe from my advances. He relaxed, but looking at the blue moon outside, he couldn't shake a bad feeling he couldn't quite place. Late that night, I woke up and found Anna had fallen asleep sitting at my bedside. Her sleeping face looked so sweet, I actually felt a twinge of guilt. I decided I'd stop messing with this girl from now on. Using magic, I gently floated her onto the other side of my oversized bed and placed a long pillow between us as a barrier. Nothing inappropriate would happen. I lay back down and drifted off. That night, I dreamed I was a pirate captain fighting a giant octopus. It grabbed me and dragged me underwater. No matter how hard I struggled, it kept wrapping around me tighter and tighter. Anna dreamed she was a castle owner sleeping with her beloved pet dog. But tonight the dog wouldn't stay still and kept trying to escape her arms. Next morning, Anna woke up early, feeling well-rested. She dreamed about hugging a squirming puppy that eventually gave up and let her hold it all night. Then she looked down and found me in her arms instead. HHH, her scream woke me up. Before I could even open my eyes properly, she shoved me off the bed with full force. I crashed into the wall across the room. I sat on the floor completely dazed. Who am I? Where am I? What just happened? Anna was wrapped in the blanket on the bed, eyes full of tears, accusing me of doing something to her while she slept. I looked down at my clothes, completely intact. I pointed that out while holding my aching back. She checked her own clothes. Everything was in place. Nothing felt wrong. The accusations faded into an awkward, "Oh, I see. I thought you." Never mind. She helped me to the sofa and asked how I was feeling. I'd been planning to milk the injury act longer, but I realized I'd already achieved my goal. Anna and Sophia would stop hunting me down now. Plus, I needed to focus on the Book of Arts challenge. I told her I was about 70 or 80% recovered thanks to Grandma Kiri's medicine. It's that kick you just gave me that made things worse. She conveniently didn't hear that last part. Both our stomachs growled at the same time. I headed for the door and put on my shoes. She just sat there on the sofa. I asked if she was waiting for Sophia. She mumbled quietly, "He doesn't even know how to properly invite a lady to eat." I heard her. I sighed, then made an elegant bow with my left hand at my waist and right palm extended upward. "Oh, beautiful lady, would you do me the honor of joining me for breakfast?" Her face went red. After spending the night together, innocently, she didn't seem to dislike me as much anymore. She placed her hand on mine. "Well, since you asked so nicely, I suppose I can join you." I took her hand and we walked downstairs together. At the tower entrance, Blair was waiting but spotted us holding hands and dove behind a small tree. The tree only covered his head. His massive body stuck out on both sides. Anna burst out laughing, then quickly pulled her hand away from mine. I called Blair out. He scratched his head sheepishly and whispered father's message, "Stop targeting Sophia." I nodded and sent him off so he wouldn't ruin the moment. I tried to hold Anna's hand again. It was incredibly soft with no calluses despite her years of whip training. She pulled away, too shy. I walked ahead and let it go. The few students out this early all did double takes seeing us together. I didn't care, but Anna's face turned bright red. She finally snapped at one group of starers. "What are you looking at?" They scattered. At the cafeteria, Sophia was already there. She looked surprised to see me up and walking. I told her Grandma Kiri's medicine was amazing. Then she looked at Anna and me together, clearly wondering if something was going on between us. Anna grabbed Sophia and dragged her upstairs to the second floor before she could ask more questions. I watched them go with a smile, then found a seat downstairs and ordered breakfast. After breakfast, I noticed Anna and Sophia whispering on the second floor balcony, glancing at me. I smiled and left the cafeteria alone. Since the mages had given me a few days off to recover, I decided to use the time to work on the Book of Arts challenge. Walking around campus, I noticed something strange. Students kept looking at me with eager, almost desperate expressions. Both girls and guys. Blair showed up, skipping class because he didn't like theory lectures. I asked him to walk with me and pointed out the weird stares. He grabbed a random male student and dragged him over. The terrified kid explained, after my stunt at the auction, hinting I had extra secret realm slots. Every noble family had told their kids at the academy to get close to me and hopefully buy or earn a slot. Mystery solved. That's why everyone looked at me like I was made of gold. Then the kid dropped to one knee. "Young Master Ren, I'm Casey Bush. I'll follow you, fight for you, never betray you. I'll swear on the night god." I looked at him, a first-rank mid-level knight, below average for the academy. I asked if he knew about my terrible reputation. He said he did, but he'd rather follow someone openly bad than the nobles who scheme behind people's backs. I told him to think about it for 3 days. If he still felt the same way, come find me at the Mage Tower. He stood up with fire in his eyes and walked away determined. Something told me this kid would become something special someday. I sent Blair to have the family's people at the academy investigate Casey's background. Full report on my desk by tonight. Then I finally spotted what I'd been looking for, a student with a golden mark above his head. Early second-rank warrior. I walked up and stopped him. His name was Bentley Wick, not a noble, just a merchant's son attending the academy thanks to the Ward family sponsorship. No fancy breathing technique like the noble kids had. As a first challenge opponent, his difficulty was on the lower end. Good enough for my first try. I asked if he wanted to spar. He nearly cried. Fight you? Your move at the dueling arena could kill me 7 or 8 times over. I promised not to use any large-scale magic. He was still scared. If he somehow won against a marquis family's son, who knows what would happen? I assured him it was just casual sparring, no grudges win or lose, and he could even use safety tokens. He thought it over, realized we had no bad blood, and this was probably just a random impulse on my part. He swallowed hard and nodded. Okay, when do you want to do this? I told Bentley to meet me at the dueling arena at noon. He agreed, and I headed back to the mage tower to rest and prepare. Somehow word spread through the entire academy that I was fighting someone at the arena. By lunchtime the place was packed. Students with nothing to do after eating had all come to watch. They were shouting insults at Bentley, saying he must have offended me and was doomed. The taunting was killing Bentley's morale. He'd clearly already decided to throw the fight, lose quickly, save face, don't anger the marquis family's son. That was the safe play for a merchant's kid. When I walked out of the waiting room and saw his expression, I frowned. I used magic to amplify my voice and yelled at the crowd to shut up. I told them this was just a normal spar. Nobody had beef with anyone, and if Bentley didn't fight at full strength because of their nonsense, I'd hold them responsible. The crowd went quiet. I walked over to Bentley and asked if he wanted to move somewhere else. He shook his head and said he was fine, but I could tell he was still planning to lose on purpose. That was a serious problem. The Book of Arts challenge had a rule. If my opponent deliberately held back and let me win, not only would it count as a failed challenge, but it would cost me 2 attempts instead of 1. I couldn't allow that. Bentley, I need you to swear on the warrior god that you'll fight with everything you have. I don't want you going easy on me. He was confused and reluctant. But looking at me, and probably remembering the sword of Damocles from my duel with Damon, he figured I had something up my sleeve and he'd lose anyway. So he swore the oath, full power or his combat energy would never advance again. I relaxed. Then I handed him a safety jade token and put up 3 third-rank treasures as a prize if he won. His eyes lit up. His merchant father had many children, so Bentley only got about 1 third-rank treasure per month. 3 at once was serious money for him. But since he'd been planning to lose, he didn't think much of it. I mentally accepted his golden mark, activating the challenge. We backed up 100 meters from each other. When we locked eyes, the fight began. Bentley pulled out a crossbow with faint magical engravings, not a true magic device, but enhanced for speed. 3 bolts flew at me. Without the heavenly abyss, I was working with just wind magic for speed enhancement. I dodged all 3 bolts with quick sidesteps. A probing attack. The real fight was about to begin.